Guys, if you're just watching, I'm trying to start my live stream. It always takes a couple of seconds with YouTube. But if you're seeing this, I'd probably skip the video forward like 5 minutes at least. I mean, that's personally what I would do. I'm just waiting to get these settings right, and it's always super annoying. Okay, looks like we're about to make it on. I can see the dashboard starting. Oop, let me turn that off. Man, why is my computer so slow? Okay, all right, looks like we're on. Beautiful. I'm just going to give it probably like 5 minutes to see if anybody comes in here or not. Possibly. We did have a super chat already from iTrevor over there in Australia. Maybe I'll read that if some more folks come in. I'll just read it now. It says, unable to make it to the stream. Rip. Oh, man. Hopefully some people make it. Otherwise, this is going to be a tough one. I might even have to cancel. It says, could you react to a 20-minute vid, Modern Men Are Not Okay, by The Conscious Man? Interested in your commentary. All right, hell yeah. Yeah, I can do that. I definitely can do that. That will be 100% dependent on if anybody comes in to view the stream. And if not, I'll have to just save it for another time. So not entirely sure if this stream is going down today. If anybody's watching out there, just leave a comment, and what I'll do is get the stream going. So I wonder if that's gonna work. Nope. I can never get this Twidget thing to work. Oh well. YouTube chat. Okay. Yeah, no dice, huh? See if I can get it going. Looks like we got one viewer out there. I'll give it a couple more minutes, see if anybody else comes in. I do appreciate the super chat. That is motivating the hell out of me right now. Yo, Klaus. Welcome in, Klaus. You're saving the day. Sadly, iTrevor can't make it. He did leave a super chat, which I'm super grateful for. And, well, that's pretty much where we're at. Oh, dang. I'm trying to get one more thing just before I get started. I'm just trying to see if I can overlay the chat from Restream. And you're supposed to be able to, but I just want to see if I can do that. Embed in stream, copy. Okay, you should only need a browser source. Klaus, I hope you're doing okay, man. I really do appreciate you coming in here, honestly. Create new, Restream chat. We got 2 videos today. There's Free Love from ItsComplicatedChannel, and then iTrevor specifically requested one called Modern Men Are Not Okay from a channel called The Conscious Man. I actually really appreciate him suggesting that, because all I had was Free Love today, and I think that's probably like a 20-minute video. And yeah, it's just nice to have something else. Paste. Come on, see if this works. Huh. Okay, well, there it is. There's the Restream. I think I'll probably just get rid of this. I thought it would be clear, so that's a little disappointing. I'll just try one more thing before I get this started. Chat. You can probably do a settings. Appearance. What the hell is this? Oh, look at this. I'm fine, but very tired. Oh, man. Dude, it's kind of surprising you're the only one in here, because I know it's late for you, isn't it? Oh, man, that makes me feel even worse. I'm sorry, bro. I really should get the show on the road. Dude, I've been feeling kind of tired, too, weirdly. Show avatar, show viewer count. Oh, you can download this for Windows. All right, whatever. I'll just work on that later. Next time we'll make sure the restream chats are up. How about that? Not worth it. I also got another light here in the background just to kind of even that out. And man, let me just pour myself a cup of tea real quick. I got a yerba mate with me today in case it gets so that's gonna be my cold drink. Then I got some hot tea. I actually feel pretty low energy today myself, man. Like, it's just weird. I went on this big ass walk earlier in the day, and I was trying to record like another walking video, but I kept messing up, so I had to keep restarting. And then what happened was that I just ended up keep walking for like way longer than I probably should have in the sun because I kept trying to get the right take. So I was pretty damn exhausted when I got back home. It was kind of crazy, actually. There was a part of me that wanted to just, I don't know, take a big ass nap and just sleep and maybe even cancel the stream. But I was like, hell no, I can't do that. I want to stream. But I do got to get some videos out for you guys, which will probably be tomorrow, you know, unless I end up getting busy. But I really need to just pump out them videos. So that's my situation. So hopefully I'll make it through. If I'm feeling especially tired after the free love reaction, oh shit, then I think what I'll do is probably push off Conscious Man till the next time, and then maybe iTrubber can catch it. So, oh shit, wrong one. Let me get rid of that. Get rid of that. Modern men are not okay. All right, here we go. Free love. Damn, there's a fly in here too. That should make this. Looking forward to the videos. Thank you, man. I got like a good 3 or 4 topics that I wrote down on my list that will be kind of interesting. I found this Reddit thread, and it's about this teenager who was able to hack into his parents' phones, and he finds out his parents are cheating on each other. And he's basically come over to this, like, you know, subreddit I follow, which is a bunch of divorced guys, and he's asking, he's just like, well, I'm about to go to college next year, like, should I drop this bomb on my parents? So it's actually a pretty compelling read. So that'll be one of them. But all right, anyways, free love. I think 3 viewers is going to be what it is, and you know, anybody else who wants to see will just have to watch this on the replay. But I mean, this caught my eye. I like that it's called Free Love too, because it's a total kind of nod to the hippie movement. Free love, man. And, you know, that's heavily contrasted with our current situation where I think love seems to be monetized and made into a transaction probably more than ever, at least for dating on the whole, probably. So we'll go ahead and see what the deal with that is. So let's go ahead and start the video. This is a It's Complicated channel video. Make sure you guys subscribe. And you know, that'd be awesome if you guys did that. So, and also if you're watching, please hit the like button on mine. Also, another fun fact, you know, I've never actually gotten, I don't think I've ever gotten really a subscriber from streaming. I usually get my subscribers from videos. So it's like, streaming's fun, and I love doing this once a week stream. I actually really enjoy this, but it's just, I don't know, it's just weird. I hope that the like buttons makes it so people who aren't subscribed see it also, but we'll see. All right. If it's too loud, just let me know. Should be all right though.
What is the difference between today's hookup culture and the free love movement of the 1960s?
Oh. Basically, all guys want now is coochie, and nobody wants that, like, real romance.
Nobody wants real
nothing,
love.
nothing.
Wants,
and it's sad. It's sad.
It's
That's
really
the whole
sad.
point. It's sad.
I feel
That's pretty funny. Damn, if I had to answer the question, the difference between the free love movement and now, I mean, that's kind of what I said earlier, was that it's become so transactional. And, you know, to be fair, it's like, I don't know, you know, I didn't live through the free love movement, but from what I heard, it was just about, you know, kind of this hippie, maybe commune style of love where people maybe weren't really judged or something, and love, it was just okay, and Woodstock, all these kinds of things. But she totally blamed it on the men. She was just like, well, the men only want this, but I think it's also the women who kind of, you know, don't want us to buy them flowers anymore and these kinds of things without it being cringe and chasing the bad boy and this kind of stuff. That probably didn't help either. So anyways,
I feel like the free love movement in the 60s,
she kind of looks like she might actually be a hippie. This looks like a kind of hippie festival.
it was more about love and loving everyone. And now hookup culture, it's more about lust and basically just, you know, what can you get and judging. And I don't know, I feel like freedom of love was more beautiful in the 60s, and now it's, I don't know, it's about what you can get and lust.
In the ninth,
You know what's interesting about that? Maybe it's more like the free love movement was about loving, like she said, loving everybody, versus romantic chivalry, which is like pedestalizing one person, you know, the loving a specific woman like a knight, or like loves a princess, I guess, whatever the old stories were. But then hippie free love is something that almost sounds like not monogamous, but it's just like, hey, you know, in the moment love. And then there's lust. Well, she said lust, but I mean, I would say probably more transactional sex. It's like the corporations won, man.
1960s, I'll tell you what, I was at Haight-Ashbury, the Summer of Love
Haight-Ashbury's is in San Francisco. Man, this guy probably really was there. He looks like he actually lived through it.
of 1967, before I got shipped overseas, and it was the coolest place. Everybody was cool. Everybody was laid back. Everybody was loving. I mean, the women were awesome. They didn't care who you were. If you just wanted to sit and talk, they would. The guys would do the same thing. If you didn't have anything, they'd give you something. And today's culture, everybody's hooking up. They're looking for love, but they're not finding it. We had it. Everybody loved everybody, and it was very, very, very cool. And that was the best summer of my life.
The best summer of his life.
If we can go, we're Generation X. That means we don't give a shit. But, but in 1967 at Haight-Ashbury, I slept in the park that night with a whole bunch of people, and everybody got stoned except me, because I don't do that. But and we had a wonderful, wonderful time, and just talking about every little thing. We weren't trying to fix the world. We weren't trying to hook up with anybody. And if you saw somebody you liked, you say, "Hey, baby, come on over here." And she just walk right over there. You know?
So how did
I'm sorry. It just sounds like almost unbelievable, right? Like it sounds like he was describing heaven or something. Like, everybody was just hanging out, having a good time, and you know, if you liked somebody, you just tell them, and then they're cool with it. And he claims it's funny that he separates, like, he says he slept with like a bunch of people in a park some night there in San Francisco in 1967, but then in the next sentence he's just like, we weren't looking to hook up. Like, it wasn't like the connotation of hookup now is something that's like worse or not equivalent to what he's talking about, which you could almost say he hooked up with these people in the park, but he wouldn't call it a hookup, which is kind of interesting. This is also before you know, HIV, AIDS, and all that stuff. Man, it was a different time. He lived through a cool time.
we go from that movement to today, when women need to be compensated for their time and attention? In other words, we went
That's the transactional situation right there. Klaus said that was my first thought too. It's all about the money. Yeah, now it's all about the money.
from free love
Right.
to pay to play, transactional.
Right. It's because social media said that's what they should have. So they grow up with a sense of entitlement, and they want, it's like, yeah, I'll talk to you, I'll, you know, but you're going to buy me dinner, and you're going to do this, you're going to do that.
Because men think that they rule.
You know what's interesting? I mean, and I can't help but think of it as I watch this, is he kind of put a year 1967 for like the free love stuff was going on then. So maybe that was like peak free love, and the hippies were doing their thing. But the Federal Child Support Act actually passed in 1975. So it's like, when you think about it, like there was all this free love going on. I'm not saying it was because of these folks. I mean, I don't know what percentage of the population were hippies doing the free love thing, but there is this kind of explosion of single moms that kind of starts after the 50s through the 60s and then really starts to go up. So it would be funny if like the child support program was really a response to the free love movement, because all these people in the park that were having a good time were, you know, kind of coming home pregnant.
The world, and they can have it all while making women slave under them. So I need to be compensated for everything that I do.
Man, that's so crazy that she says that. I gotta hear it one more time.
You're going to do this, you're going to do that.
Because men think that they rule the world and they can have it all while making women slave under them. So I need to be compensated for everything that I do.
It almost seems like isn't that how like what some guys view women, right? It's like women think that they're on top of the world and that they can have their cake and eat it too, sleep around, find some good husband later on, and then just treat men like slaves or people who just serve them. I mean, it's funny because it's like both sides of the aisle probably almost have like the same argument of the other side. It's almost like, I don't know, it's just like a projection thing. It's like she just wants to treat people like slaves.
How did we go from love and friendship to game, seduction, and manipulation?
Because that's what men deserve.
Women, because women I feel like are very entitled these days. I feel like their standards are way too fucking high, for sure.
They turn into money mongers, and now it's all about the money. You know, they don't care about the people anymore. They just want money.
Pay her. Pay for that girl.
You know, it's interesting too. It's like, okay, 1967. That's still an at-fault divorce. I mean, you do have welfare. That's like the golden years of welfare. I mean, welfare lasted as it was then for a while until it changed in the mid-90s. But 67 was this, you know, free love, Woodstock, Haight-Ashbury. And then 1969, you get no-fault divorce. And then divorce kind of becomes profitable almost for certain women. At the same time, the culture's changing with free love and sex outside of marriage. And because this question was, how do we go from free love to this manipulative seduction transaction kind of thing? And it just seems like a lot of the incentives were changed around that time to make it so women could kind of avail themselves of a lot more gain from breaking a relationship and, I don't know, doing things outside. It's interesting to think about. He literally said it's all about the money. That's hilarious. I know that guy said that, right? That guy is it's interesting to hear older people sometimes on it. I got this neighbor. He just reminds me of this neighbor across the street. And like this guy that lives for me, him and his wife, he's probably in his 70s now, maybe even older possibly, but I talk to him every now and then, and he used to live in San Francisco around that time. And some of the stuff he's described to me is, I mean, it matches with what this guy's saying. So sounds like it was honestly a beautiful time. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some, you know, these people should have been working and thank God the hippies lost and all that. I don't care. I actually like the hippies. It sounds like a beautiful time, you know, with the beautiful sharing of ideas. God knows what they were doing, but most hippies I've met seem pretty cool. But then if you become a single mom because you're at Woodstock and then you got to live on welfare and you don't believe in working, that affects the system. See what this lady has to say.
Why did the women of the past care less about money when they were more dependent on a man for money?
I think because there wasn't as many opportunities for women, and I think
It was normalized. Like, women were meant to have a family, birth kids, cook, clean, and they didn't work. But now that we're more in an independent society, women are expected to work and provide for themselves, so they're doing it any way that they can.
Women are just more vocal about maybe what they want from a man. So like if it is money or gifts or something, they're probably, I feel like, just being out front now rather than back in the day. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we just more upfront now.
women now are just more vocal.
It's just funny. Like, if you think about upfront or vocal, it almost sounds like it does match this idea of transactional. It's like, I want this in exchange for this. This is what I want in exchange for that, instead of anything that really has to do with love at all. How could you call that love, you know? I mean, I don't know. It's just really weird. like, I think a woman is within her right to get angry at a guy who like goes on a date with her and says, well, if I buy you dinner, then will you sleep with me? Like, she should get mad at that. And it's very, I don't know, I guess non-seductive. It's very mechanical and robotic. But at the same time, it's like if you're a guy and then a woman's just like, well, I want, make sure that you want to get married and this and that. And they're very like upfront about like what they're trying to get out of this instead of like making you want to do those things with them. I think men have every right to be like, you know what? I'm not feeling this chick.
And they're surrounded by more women themselves. They were probably just surrounded by, their fathers, their brothers, their husbands. So they didn't have somebody to share, to talk to,
What about their mom, though, or sisters?
Why didn't women of the past all think they were queens with delusional dating requirements for men?
Because other women put that in other women's head, not realizing that's their standards, not yours.
How could this be?
Well, it's funny. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think about. Like, why weren't the women of the past like delusional like that? And it really makes me think like marketing has so much to do with it. Not even just feminism as a movement, but feminism as like a marketing strategy in terms of convincing women that it's cool to do these things or making them feel pressure to live a certain way. I don't know. It just was like just very clever.
Considered female nature if it's changed?
Because it's not.
Let's hear that.
I don't think all females are the same.
How could this be considered female nature if it's changed?
Because it's not. I don't think all females are the same, personally.
I don't think it's their nature at all. I don't think none of the behavior of right now today is their actual nature. I think it's new habits and new nature from the new way that they live life, evolving and things like that. But I don't think this is natural at all.
It's interesting because that's kind of a commentary on like what the red pillars say, like, oh, it's female nature. It's female nature. Women can't be held accountable, or women will monkey branch, or women will do all these things. And, if you're a guy and you're like, why? The answer is typically like, well, it's female nature. It's female nature. And so he's asking, how could it be considered female nature if it's changed? Like, so if it's changed from like free love or whatever it was before free love to what it is now, to where it's like so many women are like damn near, quasi prostitutes if they're being this transactional about it. How could you really call it female nature if it changes? And that's an interesting point too. I think the female nature, or like behavior patterns of a people, not even just the women, but of the men too, is very much so dependent on the culture around it and what's legal, what's illegal, what kind of societal pressures there are, what kind there isn't. And as those change, people's behavior patterns tend to change with it. I think below it, there is some kind of biology there, but what we have now in our society, like with social media, dating apps and all that stuff, it really isn't. I mean, the XXX films the guys are watching, a lot of that stuff is designed to exploit whatever nature you have. So it's almost like wrong to say, no, yeah, that's their nature. Of course they're going to do that. But I think it's more correct to say, well, their biology has been exploited by these environmental factors. Like they can just swipe, get so many matches, this date. A guy can, he might not be able to do that, but he's on a computer and he's looking up new tab, new OF girl. And it's just like rotting their brains, but compared to their grandparents, which weren't like that at all, and definitely weren't as promiscuous, at least evidenced by the low out of wedlock birth rate. So it's a good question. Because we usually just take it for granted that like, well, it's female nature, but it's like there's probably more societal, just bigger things working on individual people there. Klaus says, good point. Considering women make a lot of money, make a lot of buying decisions. Yeah, they do, in the sense of like I should probably look that up, but I wonder how they fare in like consumer spending. I think it's more technically. I don't know. If you walk into like your average department store over here, like if I walk into a Macy's, about like 3/4 of that Macy's is dedicated to like women's products, like clothing or whatever. And then like if you go downstairs into the basement, it's like the men's section, and it's only half of it because they also have like the appliances and furniture there too. There's not as many men's clothes as there is like women's clothes. It's kind of funny.
I don't think they've ever been delusional. I think a woman wants what she wants. And if it's money and a successful man, then it'd be that. If it's someone that just, does the bare minimum, makes her happy, then it's that. I think all women have always thought differently throughout time. It's just a lot of more women can communicate their opinions, and the ones that are very strong-willed and out there and outspoken are the ones that want more,
If you are...
It's kind of interesting too, because it's like guys can be on here and compare notes now in terms of with like these manosphere spaces and people who've gone through divorces, or what's worth it, what's not worth it anymore. And it's, I don't know, it's just changing the behaviors of everybody.
Man, and you are broke, you should be embarrassed, and you should be doing everything in your power to get up in the morning and get rich. You want to know? Let's do a little analogy, right? Crackheads, they wake up in the morning and they will do everything in their power to smoke crack and get tweaked out by the end of the night. So if you're a man and you're broke and you do not get up and think, oh wow, I need to do something to make money today, you are pathetic, because even a crackhead could do it. So you're actually just, you're dusty then. So then a crackhead's smarter than you, so you don't know what you're doing.
That woman was crazy, man. See, look, man, this is what happens. Like when you make it, like after you've followed after the ways and the philosophies of the crackhead, and you finally gone out there and made all this money, like this is what your prize is going to be. This is who's going to be waiting for you at the finish line. Man, it's crazy. And it's like, probably her opinion of broke is like, even a normal guy with a decent job is probably considered a dusty to her. That is just, I don't know, this is just weird to see. Oh man, I think a lot of guys would put aside having a crackhead level of trying, because once they make it, it's like what's waiting for you is like this woman with God knows how many bodies and God knows what kind of past. Bodies or no bodies, but it's like, I don't know. It's just really weird. Also be kind of mean if you flipped it and put it on a woman. It's like, hey, if you're a woman and you're, I don't know, obese or this or that, then, I don't know. Hey, I guess, listen, if you're broke, you should definitely try. But I think more of the issue is that the average person is having trouble now. And what's considered not broke, the bar has just been raised high, if you want to believe that. Klaus says marketing works a lot better if you're emotional. That's 100% true. Man, I think anybody who's like invested in stocks or just watched stocks and stuff like that knows like so many trades are made on emotion. Oh my God, just if you just think of someone buying a car at like a car dealership, there are so many impulse buys for like horrible, stupid deals too. I've met women that had more shoes in their shoe cabinet than I will use in my whole lifetime. I believe it, man. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think now from what I've seen. I mean, like, yeah. Yeah, oh, man. That's a very particular kind of woman for sure. All the tats would turn me off immediately. Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I could deal with some tattoos and like, she's still attractive or whatever. I mean, attractive woman's an attractive woman, but at a certain point when it's like tattoos like to this degree, like on the neck and this and that, it just doesn't even make sense, That's a little too extra for me.
I need to do something to make money today. You are pathetic, because even a crackhead could do it. So you're actually just, you're dusty then. So then a crackhead's smarter than you, so you don't know what you're doing.
Why didn't the men of...
Sorry, they're trying to make me play ads. Yo, Secular World, welcome in, man. I don't know why. I like your username. I just think it's pretty cool. No kidding. I purchased an iPad with no real purpose for it. To be fair, well, if you look at the numbers, maybe women do spend more than men. But, you know, men will buy stuff that they don't need also. Like, a woman will buy hella makeup and buy all these shoes and all this crap. But then, like, a guy will do is he'll go out and buy, like, you know, a brand new 2024 Corvette, you know, for like $120,000 or whatever the heck those go for. Or a guy will go out and just buy like a brand new Porsche, like a 2-seater. I don't know. Maybe they got back seats. But to me, that's like the equivalent of the women wasting money. Because it's like, we're really, you know, unless you're really into cars like that, and even guys who are really into cars like that probably won't often buy that unless it's like a good deal. And honestly, man, I'm not even better for that. I literally just bought a drone, a DJI Air 3. And I'm so happy I have it. I don't regret buying it. I flew it like a good 3 times. I mean, I flew it over the ocean. I flew it in some places. But I feel like I haven't flew it enough to justify it. And I'm starting to feel bad. Like, why haven't I been flying my drone? I was so excited to get it. Anyways, let's see what she has to say.
The past need to learn game in order to attract a woman?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe they did have game and we just didn't know. Maybe they had something like, you know, the old-timey riz and we don't know about it.
You know, that's a good question. I'm sure you still have to know how to like attract a woman and all that stuff. But if people were definitely like attracting each other for marriage and not for sleeping with each other, then maybe game wasn't as important when it wasn't about hooking up, but it was more about like, hey, like, let's start a family together. I mean, obviously, you know, you guys still probably would want to like each other somewhat, but game, and it's kind of inherent in the word, right? Like, you're gaming somebody, like you're almost trying to game them out of something they have. And I feel like that's more so for like short-term hookups or something. Yo, Walter White. Oh man, Walter, $9.99, dude. Big thanks, man. Big thanks. I wish I can get that on the big screen. Thank you, man. Okay, there's no message on there. I don't think there's anything. Thank you for the donation, bro. I really appreciate that. Welcome in. We're just watching free love here from the It's Complicated channel. And then we got Men Are Not. We got another video. This was suggested by iTrevor. The Conscious Man. Men Are Not Okay. So we'll be watching that after. But welcome in, Walter. Appreciate seeing you, man. Okay, here goes. Yeah, anyways, yeah, game, right? It's like game and seduction becomes so much more important now because of what you're trying to do with it. You know what I mean? And it's like you're just trying to get these women into bed, basically. You know, it's like, well, prostitution's illegal. Marriage is kind of out of reach. So then, you know, you got to know game and figure out how to be attractive.
I think because getting married to somebody was probably just really common. You find someone, you say you love them, maybe you do truly love them, and you just get married. Times are different.
Man, doesn't that sound kind of amazing? I wish it was like that now. Like, oh, you know what? This person's okay. I guess if I've thought about people I've dated, I think I've dated, like, looking back, that where I'd be like, you know, I could probably see myself marrying that person, but it's just like the surrounding factors and the circumstances make it to where it's like, nah, that's not a good idea, unfortunately. You know, if it wasn't what it was out here now, I would have, like, if it was a different time, I would have probably married, you know, one of them.
Why wasn't slut-shaming an issue during the free love movement of the 1960s?
I feel like because there wasn't a lot that you can do in the 1960s. I mean, like, maybe wear a short skirt. I feel like now, like, things have changed a lot and you can show a lot and get away with it. So slut shaming has become more normal, but I mean, it's not okay. Like, I feel like everything has become normalized. Like, you should just be able to be yourself and wear whatever you want.
If today's society is seen as more degenerate, why is there more slut shaming today than there was back then?
That's a great question, because I feel like society has made, like, sluts who they are, I guess. Like, I don't know, like, they say that they, like, call people sluts, but then they want people to wear less clothes and be more provocative, whatever. I don't know.
It's an interesting question. when it comes to slut shaming. I mean, I guess if you think about like that guy who was at Haight Ashbury, the older guy who was talking about the free love stuff in '67. Like, I don't see that guy slut shaming anybody because he's having a good time. I mean, he's happy. But nowadays, if the price is high and a lot of, guys are having trouble with it, then probably, yeah, slut shaming is going to happen. But then there's the other part of slut shaming where it's like women slut shame each other, Like, there was probably some slut shaming going on in the 60s from like your sort of conservative people maybe who didn't like that, or the earlier generation. Yeah, I mean, there was probably slut shaming from the parents, but nowadays there's slut shaming from what would be like our generation talking to the others. So people kind of use it as a weapon, where before people were probably slut shaming because they're actually looking out for you, like if it was their parents. Klaus says, you say you'll love them. Does she even know what she's talking about? Oh God, I know, right? I think you were talking about that tattooed up girl. Maybe I got the wrong one, but sorry. 1 second, I need to check something. My door opened here. Oh, nope, we're good. My bad. All right, let's get back to it.
I feel like social media. I feel like really social media is like everybody has their own opinion, and on social media on our phones we can communicate it. Back then people had their opinions, but they weren't able to like really butt into other people's lives as much as we can nowadays.
You know what? That's actually a good point from her. Like with social media and being able to just broadcast your point any given time, like you're bound to hear a lot of slut shaming and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of BS out there, I guess, that's been kind of amplified. So, that would make sense. But it's like, does slut shaming even work? I don't think slut shaming works. There's always these people, because we reacted to the shame episode, and there's always people that are like, we got to bring shaming back. But it's just like, I don't know. Like, I just imagine somebody shaming like an OF girl. Like, you're gonna shame this chick right here, or you're gonna shame you're going to shame this woman. I don't know. Like, unless they see actual consequences for themselves. Yo, does she have one blue contact? Maybe it's just the lighting. It's just not going to work. They're just going to dig their heels in, and they're going to go even deeper into it. They're going to be like, oh, this angers you? Let me do it more. Dan the Man. Yo, welcome in, Dan the Man. Happy to see you in here. Really happy to see you. Back then it was definitely the parents or grandparents who slut shamed the girl. Yeah, and that would make sense. That would make sense because I don't know, like I mean, I don't have any evidence of this, but it's like when you imagine what a slut shame looked like back then, it was like some girl trying to walk out of her house with short shorts, and her mom or grandma or somebody or aunt was just like, what are you doing? Or maybe even the dad is calling him out. They're calling her out. So that would have been the slut shaming, but it's from people that actually care about you. Now the slut shaming is from like, I don't know, people on podcasts or people on Twitter or just random stuff like that. Finley. Oh, I think I saw you before. If you've been here before, man, welcome back. A lot of misandry in these interviews. Yeah, definitely, man. It seems like a lot of them are from younger women, though, so maybe they'll understand when they hit the back end, and who knows. Klaus GGG says, you can only comment on the life of people who are broadcasting their life with social media. Yeah, and I think that's fair, too. I mean, if someone's putting it out there like that, you can only expect to have it commented on. Secular World says, here's my thought. Shaming has always been a tactic, and still is. We shame what we don't like, but it seems like women placed an emphasis on something they detest. Yeah, I mean, I think shame has always been something that's been part of society, and so long as there's been things that a culture holds sacred, the minute a culture holds something sacred, they also push something into the taboo. You know what I mean? It's like being naked in public is a taboo, or something like that. And if you're naked in public, the rest of society is going to shame you. And nowadays that would work because it's still illegal to be walking around naked in like a grocery store. You know what I mean? Like the cops will come out and do something about that. So the shaming is going to carry some weight. But other things, you know, that used to be, I guess, shame-worthy, maybe they're still shame-worthy, but would have some bite. It's like, you know, sex outside of marriage, adultery or something like that. And back then, if you were doing anything that kind of signaled you were going to be doing that, there'd be some shame. And some societies had more extreme consequences and some had, you know, maybe lesser ones. But nowadays, it's like, you know, I don't know. But then you think, you know, about the shaming, like the misandric shaming that comes towards men and why it seems to work, you know, and why guys let it bother them. It's like what feminists did is they took the shaming that was coming their way and they're like, oh yeah, screw you. And they changed the definition of the shaming to be their version of strong and independent, right? Like a feminist being strong and independent means somebody that like makes their own money, is working and can dress how they want to dress and can sleep with who they want to sleep with. So a lot of times they equate that with strong and independent, and it's only because that's what they're traditionally shamed for. And for men, it's like we're shamed if, you know, like the lady earlier with the neck tattoo said, if you're a brokey, like she called the guys brokies. You're basically shamed for not being masculine enough or you're not rich enough or whatever. And it's like at a certain point, once the shaming gets to a certain critical mass, I think guys will stop giving a damn and they'll be like, all right, yeah, so I'm just staying at home playing video games. Like, you know, screw you. Yeah, please. I love it when you call me brokey. Oh, that pisses you off? Yeah, I'm broke and I still manage to, I don't know, sleep with chicks somehow or whatever. So I feel like we're kind of seeing that now, but I think that's where it's going. Finley says that lady with the tattoos is the worst one easily. Oh my God, hell yeah, she is. That's like a real nightmare. I don't know. I mean, it must be a very particular kind of guy that's into that kind of woman. But it's like, me personally, let's bring her up on screen. Let me remember where I'm at. I think it's 708. I mean, I don't know, man. This is just like a very particular kind of guy's interest. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a normal dude and you are not prison guy, this woman will probably like steamroll. This ain't worth inviting into your life. This is chaos right here. She is definitely the worst one. I don't even know if that's worth like the fun of it, you know. I hate to say it. I mean, it just sounds like problems waiting to happen. Klaus says shaming works only on people that have shame. So what's the point anyways? Well, yeah, that's a good question too. How do you shame someone who doesn't have shame? Yeah, I think actually It's Complicated asked that in the shame episode. I can't remember, but yeah, that just goes to the feminists. Like, and it's almost because that's a circus act nowadays, right? It's like they'll go on one of these whatever podcasts, or you'll see a TikTok go viral where the lady's like, I slept with 100 guys in 365 days, and this is how I did it. And it's like they do it because they want to do that. Dan the Man says, I think shame hits differently if it is from people who you know personal and not from strangers. Yeah, I think so too. And that's one thing that dating apps has changed because I can't remember where I saw this. I saw it on somebody's stream. Maybe it was like The Rational Male or maybe it was Coach Greg Adams, but he had a chart and it showed where people are meeting nowadays, like over time. And it was like, one of it was like at work, through friends, stuff like that, and then another one was like online, and then the online one shot up, and then like through friends, and basically all your social circle ones went down. And that's how you get things like ghosting, right? Because it's like if I go on a date with someone that I met from friends of friends, and I have a very good relationship with those friends, you know, and I don't know, maybe I do something that's not good, or let's just say somebody like you just try to sleep with her and then you ghost her or something. That's messed up behavior, even if you don't know them. But your friend group is going to find out about this. It's going to cause problems. You're going to receive shame and you're going to feel bad about it. That's a good point. That's a good point, Dan. But yeah, if it's a dating app and you're never going to see him again, I mean, you know, I've gotten ghosted plenty of times myself, and there's nothing I can do about it. That's just what it is. Secular world, somewhat like the rich shaming the work from home. That's a good example. God, I know. Can't have nothing nice. Klaus GGG, drizzle, exactly. Finley, it must have been her. Sorry for meticulously reading all the chats like that. It's just, I don't know. I just enjoy reading the chats. We'll get back to this here real soon. Finley says it must have been her getting divorced after 10 years of marriage. That lady with all the tattoos. Well, I think there's a couple ladies in this episode so far that you can probably ask. Like the ones who definitely hate men, I don't think it's incorrect to assume they've had some very bad experiences with men, which may not have even been the men's fault, but something must have happened to where they just became like this.
We were just laid back, man. I mean,
I'm sorry, something about this guy. He just sounds so chill, man. I wouldn't mind being this relaxed when I hit his age.
Because we came out of the 50s where everything was pretty rigid, and then we just kind of said, screw the man. We're just going to lay back, man, and we're not going to do anything we don't want to do. If we don't want to do it, we're not going to do it. And there's plenty of women out there. There's plenty of cool guys out there, you know, and we had really cool parties, and, you know, and it wasn't about money. Money meant nothing.
That's just, it's crazy to hear that, you know. I don't know. I mean, he's talking about the 50s being really strict. I don't know if they cared about money so much back then either. They might have been coming out of the Depression. Maybe it was more about family values. And then you have this free love movement, and it just still wasn't about the money. It was just about, I guess, loving your fellow human. I don't know. That's interesting. I hate to admit it, man. I've always had a soft spot for the hippies. Something about them, they've always seemed cool. I did grow up in California, and I remember like older people who would like used to be hippies. Like when I was a kid, I remember meeting people, like, because I've lived in a bunch of different spots, and some of them used to be hippies, and they always just seemed hella cool and chill. Like I almost want to take his advice now. I'm like, yeah, there's men and women that are cool out there, man. Everything's cool, man. It's not about the money. If this channel turns into what this guy just said, I'm sorry, but it's a hard thing for me to resist. Secular world, speaking like a true Taoist. Exactly. I gotta hear it one more time.
Because we came out of the 50s where everything was pretty rigid, and then we just kind of said, screw the man. We're just going to lay back, man, and we're not going to do anything we don't want to do. If we don't want to do it, we're not going to do it. And there's plenty of women out there. There's plenty of cool guys out there, you know, and we had really cool parties, and, you know, and it wasn't about money. Money meant nothing. It meant nothing, man.
Man, this is a guy who, like, you can just tell, like, he can't be mad about anything because he just went through some really cool times. It's kind of interesting to think about what happened, too. I don't remember when, like, the war on drugs, I don't know if that was Reagan or what, when he became president. But it's like, you got to think, like, in this guy's time, he had, like, free love, just all these amazing things. And, I mean, God knows what they were doing out there, but I don't think a lot of those, like, LSD and stuff were illegal. It was probably, like, brand new back then. He just looks like he, like, flew up on a freaking rainbow road to heaven and came back down, and he's just like, nothing can bother me now.
So why do people insist that things will never change when history has proven that things have already changed?
Yeah, yeah, it's changed a lot. I don't like it. You know, I'm out here doing my thing for the veterans, but I don't know what the hell's going on, but everybody's kind of mean, and they're not going to do anything for nothing. And so, you know, it's really messed up. So if I were to do it over again, I'd go right back to 1967.
I mean, I wasn't around back then.
I'm sorry. Something about that guy, man. It does kind of make me think, though, you know, it's like, you know, now he's just like, people won't do anything unless they get something in return. And I've always heard all these legends about, like, you know, if your car got a flat tire, people pulling over to help you out, and, you know, the community coming together, and just people, you know, not worrying about locking their doors and all these things. I had some neighbors, actually. They had lived in, like, the neighborhood since it was brand new. We moved in after them, but this family did not like lock their doors. Sometimes I'd go over to my buddy's house and I could just kind of walk in, but it was always really weird to me because I was like, man, you sure you don't want to lock these doors, man? But they tried their best to have that mindset for as long as they could until the neighborhood became what it did and they finally moved out. But it was a beautiful thing. Yo, shout out to Will. Welcome in, bro. Appreciate seeing you, man. I avoid that free love crowd. A lot of them in Reno, Burning Man runoff. I don't know why. As soon as you say Reno, I can smell like a used ashtray in like a motel room. Yeah, I guess Burning Man would be the closest thing to... I don't even know the history of Burning Man. Maybe Burning Man was like the original free love thing and was around even back then, but it's probably nothing like what it was like back then.
Do
if
it
these
over
legends
again.
are
I'd
true.
go right back to 1967.
I mean, I wasn't around back then, but I guess it was like really shamed back then. Now it's just hookup culture. There is no dating in 2024.
If women weren't slut shamed and were actually celebrated for being a slut, do you think they'd still play hard to get?
Yes, because I think that realistically everybody has a guard up, and at some point everybody's going to play hard to get.
Do you think
That's an interesting question. You would think ideally if they're celebrated for that, they'd want to do it more. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I guess if they view it as transactional, even if they're not shamed for it, they still would not want to make it easy for people because they'd still want to receive, I guess, this thing of value. I think the only way it would become more ubiquitous is if it became devalued somehow. I don't know. And some would even argue it is ubiquitous now because there's a lot of these people selling it for, I guess, a relatively cheap price as opposed to like marriage. But he's talking about like free love though, not people selling it. I don't know. That's a tough question. I guess probably not. I mean, people only want to be with who they're attracted to.
they would still play hard to get?
Yes, it's a part of the game. It's a part of the seduction game.
Could it be because women use sex to get power?
Of course.
A lot of women, they want to be more confident. They want to be more in control of their body. So I don't think that they would be more easy, if that makes sense.
Is the main reason women don't want to be easy is because they don't want to be shamed? Or could it be that they don't want to relinquish their sexual power over men?
Yeah.
It's got to be the second one. I mean, it's a power game, unfortunately. And it's a thing, I guess, of value that's transacted. But it's interesting to think about because it's like, okay, if a woman gives it up and she's shamed, but then at the same time they could just lean into that, I don't know why I think about this right now. It's almost unrelated, but I remember sometimes when I was at child support, I'd see guys that had there were a few legendary cases around the office. Like, I remember this one guy had 14 or 15 separate cases. Man, I'll always remember this case because it's like, I was a trainer for a bit too, and this was the case I had to show everybody. This was the training example. And not even because it was so crazy, but it's one of, in child support, if a guy has more than one case, if you do one thing on one case, it often ripples into the other case. So if this one was modified, this guy was a nightmare because it'd be if you did one thing on this case, 14 other cases would need adjustments on it. But anyways, it's okay, you can have a kid or something can go wrong and they can be you're a deadbeat dad, you won't take care of your kid. And some guys are going to be you know what, F it. And then they're just going to go from one chick to one chick to one chick and impregnate all these women until they got 10 kids and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And the child support debts are just going up and they're F you, you're not getting nothing. And it's kind of the same thing with these women. It's all right, yeah, I did sleep around. Now I slept with, 200 people in 1 year and I broke a record. What are you going to do about it, Klaus says, if they are celebrated, they'll get to be OF models. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably what would happen next. And that would also entail a transaction of it all.
I think they don't want to relinquish their power. They want to have their own power. I think that's why, yeah.
They don't want to relinquish their sexual power. Ladies, you hold everything in your seduction. You push a man until he has no more.
See, you hear that, and it's guys hear that, red pill guys hear that, you know, it's like you hold the power, do everything, and you push a guy till he can't no more. And it's like, what's to stop this quote unquote high value man? Why shouldn't he exercise his power? Why shouldn't he pump and dump a bunch of women and then just give him the cold shoulder when he gets tired of them? You know what I mean? They've been around this kind of mentality and attitude, and you hear this kind of stuff. When you become the one with the power, it's hard not to treat them how you were treated.
So are women more interested in love or power?
Power.
I want love and power. I want to be in love, but I also want to be in control as well.
You know, it's funny. It's like, how can you really have that? That's like a real cake and eat it too type of thing, right? It's like, I don't know if you can be in love and be in control at the same time, right? It's almost like if you're the one who's in love and they're the one who's being loved by you, you're kind of the one who's giving up power, which means they're in control of you. So I'm sure everybody would want the best of both worlds, but I don't know if that actually works on this plane of existence.
During the 1960s, where were all the liabilities and consent issues associated with sex like there is today?
Ooh, where were they?
There was no Me Too movement back then, so a man didn't have to worry about consent being pulled. It was on the spot, and everybody was cool with it. And
I think that guy's right, too. There was no cancel culture because there was no social media. I mean, there's probably a way, like, somebody could get canceled conceivably. I'm sure there's some examples you can dig up and hear, like, these big cases from back then, possibly. But nothing like today where, like, I don't know, it can spread that easily. Klaus says, I always say, as soon as the Japanese will build the AI talking sex robot. Hey, I think Elon Musk is set to release something soon. Who also cleans and cooks. The power struggle will change a lot. You know, I don't know why. It just makes me think about it. It's gonna work both ways though, Klaus. Think about it, because they will make that for the guys, but then the women will have like these Arnold Schwarzenegger bots that can, like, you know, lift up heavy shit for them, possibly change a tire. I don't know, reach things on the high shelf, you know. It's going to be weird, man. I saw that article, or Elon Musk put up a tweet, and he mentioned something about, like, these robots will be like 10 to 20 grand, and in the future, everybody will have one. It'll almost be like buying a car. It's like everybody's going to need to have one of these. Like, imagine having one of these robots at your house at all the time while you're gone at work or something, and it can just kind of watch your house, let the dog in and out, feed the dog. Heck, it can maybe even babysit kids at a certain point, could water the lawn, do all these things. Like, they're going to be everywhere. And then when people figure out how to have businesses where they can have like 5 of these things just working day and night, man, it's going to be crazy. Only the media could cancel before social media. Yeah, it had to be like the media. And it was still possible. That like mob thing still worked, but I think maybe only certain gatekeepers can probably decide who did that and who didn't. And, you know, if your case went through court or something, like, it would probably be less of a chance of the bigger media. But, you know, there was like newspapers and stuff back then, and things happened.
everybody went on about their business after everything was said and done.
That changed everything. I don't think they had certain laws and things in place back then. I don't think a lot of stuff. I think men had more control then. So I think that's what changed. They gave them a lot of freedom, which is fine, but it changed their attitude and their way of thinking.
Why are 33% of today's men lonely and sexless as opposed to back during the free love movement?
The porn addiction.
If women had a...
You know what? I can't even be mad at her for that. I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, everybody has a freaking cell phone in their hand, and, you know, I've always been the big supporter of the NoFap movement. I used to read the NoFap subreddit, and I don't think a lot of people want to talk about that, but it's just like, it's a bad thing, you know, because it's like kids get access to this, they become addicted. It is a very like addictive thing. And I think it makes people less likely to want to, I guess, be on the hunt, so to speak, and go out and meet and talk to people. So I don't think she's wrong about that.
A female nature wouldn't
probably doesn't help also that certain things like, you know, obesity rates are higher than ever. Sperm counts are lower than ever. there's a lot of things going on that's not nice. The food quality probably sucks now. The water probably has some issues. Now I really got to have like a tinfoil hat just here next to me. So every time I start talking like this, I'll just put the tinfoil hat on so you guys can know, like, oh, okay, this is just one of those.
Incels have always been a problem.
True, yeah.
Maybe it's because the standards have kind of changed. I know a lot of people look for certain things in men, like they want
The porn addiction.
If women had a female nature, wouldn't incels have always been a problem?
True, yeah.
Maybe it's because the standards have kind of changed. I know a lot of people look for certain things in men, like they want this height, this face, this style, and so maybe it's become a lot more selective to this group of men who appeal to women, in contrast where it was kind of everybody kind of fit the standard a little more.
I think that.
Yo, Shadrach, welcome in, man. Big shout out to you. Appreciate you being in here. Means a lot, man.
The requirements of today are different than back in the love movement. I think women now, instead of it being a man's physicality or a man's mind, is a man's money. So now if you don't have money or some type of benefit a woman can get from you, I feel like that's what's leaving that big percentage, because their mind have changed over what they will give you from what they receive from you.
What is...
It's like I don't dispute what he's saying, but it's like there's some part of me that like wants to say it's not true, or wants to believe it's not true. I mean, so I do believe, I guess, what game, if you want to call it that. And I'm not selling myself as someone who's got game, but it's just like, I think if you have like a minimum, you got like a decent enough car, a little bit of cash in your pocket, and like a place, doesn't even have to be your own place, but like somewhere to bring a girl back, like you can make it happen with relatively little. I don't think that's impossible, you know what I mean? But sometimes it sounds a little too like black-pilled for me, like, oh man. But the marriage market is entirely messed up now.
Hoflation.
I don't know. Hoflation?
Hoflation?
Hoflation.
I guess that's like an inflation in hoes. I feel like every woman is a hoe, and if you are, be proud of it.
Why do modern...
But I could get the hoflation part in the sense of like a lot of women maybe, having not being exactly what a man would traditionally want, I guess.
Men have to work 5 times harder than their grandfathers did, for women 20 times worse than what their grandmothers were.
Because back then, women didn't appreciate themselves and they wanted to be a slave to a man.
I mean, maybe...
It's just so crazy. The propaganda is in full. Shadrach says, first fistful of 20s and a blunt in the mouth. Honestly, man, that could be enough. That really could be enough right there. But then it's just like, when it comes to like finding that like safe provider, then they want to like make it hard for that guy. But honest to God, a fistful of 20s and a blunt in the mouth to make it happen.
They should stop choosing women 20 times worse than their grandmothers. I think that's a good place to start.
If women have a female nature, how is hoflation even an issue?
Hoflation is just a term. We have divine femininity.
Oh, maybe?
Man, see, whenever I hear like divine femininity or divine this, what that sounds like is a pedestalization. So it's like, if the woman's divine, then what does that make the man? That makes the man this profane, sort of vulgar thing, as opposed to this sublime, divine woman, right? So that pedestalizes her. And then there's like the belief that it's like men are disposable and women are the valuable one and the ones that are to be chased. And it's like, because there's a bunch of sperm in the biology, and there's a bunch of sperm and there's only this many eggs, and it's right there in the biology. But then it's like, okay, what about like the high value man guy? You know what I mean? Like, that guy seems to be the one that's not disposable, and the women seem to be disposable in that case. It's interesting to think about. But when it goes back to nature, I would say it's just men and women have a biology, but nowadays our natures are being exploited for the worse. Like porn exploits a man's sexual nature and puts him in this kind of down spiral, where like dating apps really do that with women too, because it's almost like dating apps are like the masturbation of like women in the sense of like what porn is to a guy, because a guy can sit there and look at all that, but a woman could swipe, get probably as many matches as she wants, and get the guy if they want it that night. So it's just, I don't know. It's too easy to hitting the easy buttons crazy right now.
Okay, it could be having to do with like inflation. You know, things cost a lot more now. Luxury lifestyles are in. Everyone wants to be living that social media lifestyle. And so, you know, they want to have a man who can support that lifestyle without having to work. And I think it was more normalized just to be a housewife and not to go on trips and to get fancy cars and stuff. So maybe it was more just a different lifestyle. So that's why.
You know what's interesting? Oh my God, it's Tattoo Lady again. I think the only thing, you know, I was watching Coach, and Coach was talking about one of his solutions was arranged marriages. And he didn't mention the dowry, but the dowry has been something I've been reading about a lot. And I still got to give you guys that video. So big shame on me for not making that yet. But, you know, she's talking about these things like, okay, women want a guy that's going to be able to pay for a certain lifestyle and stuff. And I feel like humanity's been here before, especially in Western history. And their solution to that was the dowry. And it was like, listen, marriage is expensive. And since marriage is expensive and hard to get, the woman's family needs to pay the guy some dowry amount to help set up the household. And then the guy, in return, takes care of the woman going forward throughout the marriage. And nowadays, like, women are having trouble on the back end finding the guy that they want to marry them. The only thing that can fix that is a dowry. But it's like, these women have like destroyed the families they're from. They got terrible relationships with their fathers. They don't have good relationships with their family. So they have no dowry to bring to a marriage. But it's like, you know, I mean, listen, and I hate to make that sound transactional, but it always was that way. There always was some type of economic transaction in a marriage, going back, even back to you can read Hammurabi's code right now, and it will discuss the dowry as part of marriage. And it's like, the more a woman wants to screw around and do whatever the hell she wants, when it comes time to locking down a marriage, she better come with some kind of deal on the table. You know what I mean? Yo, Kinky Minx, welcome in. There is no dowry big enough to make me marry again. Kinky Minx, you are only helping us not... I guess you're just helping to prove the point that marriage is in the dumps right now. Thank you. But yeah, so the only thing that could possibly fix marriage is a dowry. But even a dowry is not going to work because that entailed a certain amount of laws. I mean, it's like you get married. There really is no divorce, so it's worth it to do this marriage. You know, nowadays they can still get divorced. Everything's 50-50. But you know, if a woman wants to get married at 27, 28, 29, and she brings nothing to the marital home, it's like, what were you doing from 18 to 27? Especially if you went to college and you've been working as a career, you have nothing. It's like, no, you don't deserve to be married. And if a woman wants to be married young, then, you know, who knows? Who knows? Like maybe instead of dad paying for her college, dad's like, all right, I got $200,000 here I set aside from you. If you want, you can use that for your marriage instead of pursuing a degree. And then she could think, well, you know, Ted, you know, who I kind of grew up with, and he's in the community. He's 24 now or whatever. I don't know, whatever age. He got his engineering degree and he started working and he's got a pretty good job. He's making $90K a year. And it looks like he's taking a master's degree in night classes. It's on track. Maybe I'll use that $200,000 and we can offer Ted a dowry. And Ted will think, okay, you know, this is an 18, 19-year-old woman. She might make a good wife. We can have plenty of kids. She's young. They're offering me $200,000. I know she might divorce me, but this isn't a bad deal. I mean, it could be parlayed, you know. 3 strikes, I'm done. Kinky, you're funny. I think the new minimum age for getting married should be 30. Well, I mean, as far as like should or shouldn't, I think the numbers actually show that the minimum age for marriage now, people are getting married around 30. Probably like 29 to like 31 seems to be what the numbers are. They may both, that way both should know exactly what they want. They should know exactly what they want and what they have to offer each other. You know what I mean? It's like, I just don't understand how like someone, like let's say it's the man and woman getting married at 30 and it's like, okay, I'm a guy and it's like, I've had this much time and I've saved it. Let's say I saved up a nest egg of like, not even like a lot, like $100,000 because I've been working. chilling. I've been living frugally. You know what I mean? And okay, cool. I got my little $100,000 there. I got my job, and then I meet, this woman. I meet Sally Jones, and ideally she'd have her nest egg. Like, yeah, I've been working. I'm 30 now. I know what I want. I got my $100,000 sitting here. Let's put our nest eggs together and let's buy a marital home together. But they're not doing that. So it's like, what the hell have you been doing from 18 to 30, right? Like, and then if the marriage doesn't work out, I mean, you guys have both kind of put into this pot. At least if it gets split up, it makes a little bit of sense. Women in their 30s do have something to bring. They just don't want to bring it to the table. Exactly. They have to have something to bring. You know what I mean? It's like, what have you been doing from 18 to 30? You got a college degree. Like, make it work. Most of them still want a man to pay for everything, even at that age. Yeah, and that's where it's on the woman. And it's like, listen, if she's like, hey, listen, I want to get married. I want to have these kids. I don't want to have to work. I want to be able to quit my job for now. I need you to take care of me. I'm going to be vulnerable. I got these little babies running around. Sure, that's fine, but you got to bring some kind of thing to the arrangement. It's like, okay, you don't work. I continue working, paying the normal bills, but at least getting the marital home set up, you have to do something instead of nothing.
We are way more superior than you guys.
Oh God, it's her.
Without men, without women, men wouldn't exist. So you guys.
Without women, men wouldn't exist. Without men, women wouldn't exist. I mean, it's been a while since I've been in my biology class, but if I remember, it's like the egg needs to be fertilized by something that comes from a man, right? So without each other, and then, okay, even if you're going to say, well, the woman carries the embryo and blah, 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 but it's like, yeah, even after the woman gives birth, she's sitting there with the baby. They're still vulnerable. You as a man, you got to provide calories to this woman so she can feed this baby. You got to provide protection of this woman. Just because you can give birth does not mean you're fully responsible for this kid getting fed and growing up to become an adult. That still takes both people helping each other. Kingy says she's not the brightest crayon in the box. Exactly. Man.
You guys are actually nothing. Because without us, you're useless.
The way she's talking. You know what, man? She should just make like an OF and be like a dominatrix. That's going to be her specialty here.
Useless, you wouldn't even be born. Okay? And all men, whether you were with them for 10 years or not, will cheat and lie. So
you hear that? You hear that? You hear that? All men, whether or not you were with them for 10 years or not, will cheat and lie. So that I think this explains it. I think she's kind of telling us why she hates men so much right here.
Because without us, you're useless. You wouldn't even be born. Okay? And all men, whether you were with them for 10 years or not, will cheat and lie.
You see how she said that? Like, she's like, whether you're with them for 10 years, and she looked up like she was remembering something in her personal life. It's all speculation, but I think that's what happened. And I do feel bad for her about that, but, again, she was probably punching up. She was just like, you know what? I'm going to give it up to this guy for 10 years. See, and it's like talking about women are superior, but then the same superior woman gets played by some guy for 10 years and then gets cheated on and gets nothing. So it's like, it's a complete like weird projection psychological thing going on. That tells me she's practicing homewrecker. I would bet. Honestly, a woman who's this pissed off, if she sees like a friend get married, I can see her like pretending she's happy about it, but also plotting for like how she's going to destroy that marriage any way she can. That's kind of scary.
So it doesn't really matter.
Are you attracted to men at all, or?
Am I? Yes. Well, I'm bisexual. Yeah, I was actually with a man for.
I'm glad that he asked that.
Man for 10 years. We just broke.
Oh, look. Okay, so she was with the man for 10 years. Okay.
Yes. Well, I'm bisexual. Yeah, I was actually with the man for 10 years. We just broke up like about a year ago. So.
Okay. Oh yeah. So she's a heartbroken woman. See, that's why she's so pissed off. She's mad. See, she's pissed. She is pissed off. Man, I'd almost want to bet she probably has that guy's name tattooed on her somewhere. I'm just guessing. But Klaus says too many Chads and Tyrones. That is exactly what it is. That's just a sad story all around. It's always the man's fault. Exactly. that's another good point. It's like at a certain point, it's just like, oh, so the guy did this and I did everything right. For 10 years, I did everything right. And then he cheated on me anyways. But nowhere in that is any self-reflection of like, why did this happen to me? Like, why did I let this guy do this to me? You know what I mean? It's just he was bad. And then if you're a guy and that happens to you, it's like, well, you know, you were simping. This was the mistake you made. You let this happen. And that's that. His name is her tramp stamp.
Why are today's women so filled with hatred towards men?
I feel bad for laughing at her now. I know she's heartbroken, but it's just like still, I mean, they're spreading that negativity out here. You know what I mean?
Why are today's women so filled with hatred towards men, yet they will still engage with men for attention and resources?
Because women are desperate sometimes. Not me, though.
Ooh, shit. See, she's right. See, I like that's a good follow-up question to like this is why are some women so filled with hate? And it's like she has wasted 10 years. She's older now and she's pissed and she wants to get whatever she can because she's desperate. She feels like she probably missed her real chance.
Because everybody needs to survive. Everyone needs to survive, period.
So then work like everybody else. Get a job. I mean, like parasiting off somebody else it's not an excuse. Like, well, I needed to survive, so like I just, you know, use this person.
I think it's scarier for women nowadays just because there's a lot of different energies, like male energies. And as a woman, I can say I'd choose the bear any day.
I don't know if you guys have heard there's been like that bear analogy that's been going around, and like if a woman was stuck alone in the forest, would she choose a guy to be with or a bear? And most of the women are trolling the guys and they're like, I'd rather be with the bear. Wow.
It's a love-hate relationship. Like, if you hate it, you still got to be about it.
Because a man is going to provide me what I allow him and want him to, whether I give him what he wants or not. It's all about the power of seduction.
How do you think?
See, and then it's like, see, that is the younger version. This is the younger version of the tattooed neck lady who's probably like, you know, I don't know how old these people are, but this lady has not put in her 10 years and got screwed yet. You know what I mean? And it's like, maybe she has, but if she's going to play that game and just kind of think she has all the power and then not realize she can get screwed over the same way that like neck tattoo lady did, then she's going to get screwed over on the back end. Kingy says either work for it or suck a lot of D. Well, that's essentially what they're doing. I guess that's still work. Sex work is work. I mean, I guess that's true.
How do you think the world would be different if sex was free?
Well, for me it is. Because I'm Elvis. You know, I'm 75 years old, man.
Man, that guy is 75. Out there just chilling. See, he's got nothing to be mad about. He was just chilling in the free love movement. And even though the free love movement's gone, it's like this guy went up the road, you know, he got a taste of paradise or something. He just can't be mad anymore, you know.
Yeah, if you want to see if this guy can still do it. But it was free back then. You know, it almost seems hard to believe. Like, it's like, was it really? Are you misremembering this? Kingy says, sorry, but the girls nowadays would have gotten their asses kicked back in the day. Well, let me ask you, by who? By their moms or just by other women? I don't even think I think they would want to say, oh, well, it was men hitting women, but I don't believe that. Like, I would have thought men back then were probably even more of a quote unquote like gentleman even than nowadays. We know how to respect by their mamas and other women. You know, Kiki, I'm glad to have a well-reasoned perspective in here. By their mamas and other women. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See, the shaming would have came from like grandma or the mom or whoever, and they would have gotten in trouble. It kind of reminds me of like that trope of like, I mean, I've only ever seen it on TV, but like Catholic school and like the nun with like the ruler, like it would have been that lady that kept him in line. Anytime, anywhere. You know, a lot of it, we didn't have any diseases or anything like that. It was like, if it feels good, do it.
Do you think the sexual liberation has ultimately benefited society, and if so, how?
That's
It's crazy that she says that. Maybe she's like tradcon or conservative? Because she's got, you know, she seems maybe she's religious. Who knows?
It's a lot of words, and I don't know the answer to that question.
It didn't.
That's funny. I feel like she wanted to say no right off the bat, but she didn't, because if she says no, it didn't benefit, then she has to admit on some level that like feminism has not helped, you know.
Get any kind of it didn't get nothing good from this. Is the saying goes, like, why buy the milk when you can get the cow for free? It's just,
or why buy the cow so you can get the milk for free?
It's being given away, so you don't even have to put in work for it no more.
We are,
you know, I the way I would kind of interpret that, or like, it's like the short-term game is there. So like there's hookup culture is there, and like, you know, it's not easy for everybody, but it's like you can figure it out. You can get the milk instead of buying the cow, which would be like marriage. And sexual liberation helped tremendously with hookup culture, at least for some of the guys. Maybe in the free love time, everybody nowadays, a smaller amount of guys, I guess you can say. But what sexual liberation really did was destroy marriage. So overall, for society, if you would say marriage is good for society and family creation and all that kind of stuff, then you can say sexual liberation has not helped. Kingy says, if I ever said crap like that to my mama, she would have put me in my place really fast. You know what? Well, honestly, she sounds like a good mom. God bless her. I mean, you know, honestly, it really is. It would make more sense for the mom to be the one to kind of keep the daughter, I guess, on the right path, because maybe they understand the challenges more. Where like a guy sort of can, but maybe not in the same way the mom can't. And if the mother's good, it's also a good role model. But I don't know, you know, Kinky, I know, you know, and to be charitable to you, it's like, it sounds like you had a good role model as a mother, but even that, I think even a lot of good people can't survive the divorce machine these days. I mean, you see even good marriages falling apart, and it's just a bad situation. Dan the Man says, I have seen my grandma slut shame my cousins. So yeah, the shame definitely comes from the family. Man, you're blessed to have a grandma. By the time I was born, like 3 out of 4 of my grandparents already passed away. I just had one grandpa left on my mom's side. So I never really had a grandma, but I bet grandmas are pretty awesome in visiting your grandparents. I was always kind of felt like I missed out on that, because you know when you're growing up like in the 90s and the 2000s, and you'd always hear about like on the TV, like some kid went to visit his grandpa and they go like on a fishing trip. Like, I go on a fishing trip with my grandpa, and I was like, man, I wish I could do that. I had one grandpa, but you know, he was pretty like, I think he was pretty old, and I didn't really have a relationship with him by that time. Kiki Mink says, my divorces weren't my fault. Well, with no fault divorce, was it anybody's fault? Except, seriously, yeah. But anyways, Dan, sounds like you had a good grandma.
more sexually liberated in the sense of it's okay to be gay, it's okay, you know, to have sex with whoever you want. However, I think that there is significantly more slut shaming, but I think it's in a different way. I think that before it was more societally ingrained, you know, keep an aspirin between your knees, oh, you have to, you know, wear skirts, be virginal, all that. So in a way that was like slut shaming, you know, except it was more the preach of abstinence. I think versus now it's a lot more. She makes
a good point.
People are a lot more open about having sex, you know, before in the, you know, the 60s or whatever, they wouldn't even say had sex. They'd be like, oh, spend the night. Did you spend the night? So I feel like now it's something where
it's more accepted. I mean, you got like these different musicians that promote that kind of culture. And if it's more about promoting abstinence, then I would say it's more about, I could say that's more about trying to, I guess, I don't know, look out for everybody in that sense, especially back then without the same birth control technologies. King Ming says, yes, it was his. I believe you. I will not dispute that.
people are a lot more open about sex. They're a lot more open about the details of sex. So I think that the slut shaming is a lot more easy because if you're saying everything that you're doing, then it's probably easier versus then it was like, oh, I was impure last night, you know, something like that. Yeah.
As long as you're knowledgeable and you're safe about it and you're intentional, there's nothing wrong with being a sexual being. But if you're lying about it and being deceitful and doing it for selfish reasons, then I think there is an issue in it.
You know, I can't even dispute that. I mean, if you're lying, I just feel like if you're a liar in general, like that's bad. That's just my opinion, you know. But outwardly lying, I think, is bad. Or manipulating someone like some of those earlier women who just want to get as much money as they can out of people. They're terrible people.
Why are women so quick to accept a woman who can sell sex, but are quick to shame a man who can buy it?
Because low-key, they want to be in relationships with men, but once you break that and you realize that that's not what these men want and they want multiple women, you'll realize that it's okay, baby, get yours too.
See, it's like a prisoner's dilemma. I mean, that they're stuck between the men playing them. The men are like, hell no, I ain't getting played by these women. I mean, all that exists now is like the short term is on overdrive, but the long-term deal, the long-term contract has been like it's been destroyed.
How do you think the world would be different if all sex was free and without shame?
I think the world would be way, way better. Everybody, like, shame wouldn't exist if sex was as accepted, you know, if everybody accepted it, like no one would feel the shame.
That's an interesting question. I guess it would be like that free love guy, the Elvis dude. He'd be like, it was a good time. I mean, it wasn't about the money. The only issue with that is that there are real consequences of sex, right? And that kind of goes into all the rules we've had about sex for a long time, which was that a child can be born and there's going to be this mouth to feed. And you know, if we don't know who the dad is, then, you know, this kid's going to grow up a bastard and just all these different things, right? So I guess there was never truly free sex, but maybe in 1967 I want to say, birth control and all this, but then at the same time, single mother out of wedlock birds started ballooning around that time. So if there was birth control, they really were not using it in the same way. King of Ming says, I think the fact that single mothers these days are acceptable compared to 40 or 50 years ago. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is. And I think even if you were a guy that got divorced back then, you'd probably hit a pretty big stigma. I mean, you'd be the quintessential deadbeat dad, and the single moms back then would be the welfare queens, right? But nowadays, it's like if you're a single mom, it's like almost empowering. I know I mentioned this like 20 times and I made a video on it, but I can't get over the single mom by choice phenomenon. And I think the most recent iteration of that was Naomi Campbell. And Naomi Campbell was, I think she was like a model or a celebrity or something. And she went out with some high profile guys for a while. And I guess, I don't know, I think she was married. I don't know. But there was recently a news article about her having some kids. And it appears they were done by IVF because she's in her 50s and she's not married. She's single, right? So it's like she had these 2 kids just to have kids. And the other high profile one was Amber Heard. Amber Heard did the same thing. It's speculated that Elon Musk donated the sperm for that. That's kind of another tinfoil hat theory. But these celebrity women will promote that because they got the money, but then these younger women are starting to do it too. So there's this subreddit I follow. I actually found a post from it today and I wanted to make another video. Damn. Maybe I'll just share it now. I thought about it, but it's kind of crazy because I call them the incels of the women's side, right? It's like there's a guy and like, oh, this guy's an incel or a neckbeard. Let's use the word neckbeard. Like he's just at home. He just watches anime and he can't find a relationship. He just plays video games all day and he just, doesn't have any money or whatever. I don't know. He can't get a relationship. There's something wrong with them. It's a neckbeard guy. I've always wondered what the female equivalent of a neckbeard is, and I finally found it. It's these single mothers by choice, because it's like these women, and they'll go on there on this forum and they'll be like, I've never had a relationship before. I'm starting to get this age. I don't think it's going to happen, and I really want to have a kid. So then they go on this forum and they talk to the other women about what their experiences were like getting a sperm donor from a sperm bank and then IVFing themselves. I guess that's a funny way to put that. IVFing themselves with the IVF thing, paying the 20 to 30 grand or whatever it is, and then literally bringing a baby into this world without knowing who the dad is and not having a 2-parent home. Like, it's becoming a thing. And I'm like, that's some serious neckbeard level behavior. It's like, I can't find a relationship. I'm going to blame men or whatever. And then I'm just going to impregnate myself. Ha ha. I beat nature. I beat the game. To me, that's really weird. Makes a big difference in how we speak about sex. Yeah, I mean, she's, the language has changed. That one woman, I think before her, mentioned that. Oh, she's trying to get me to play ads. That ain't gonna happen. Single moms in the 60s and 70s were sent to a home to have their babies and adopt them out. Oh yeah, wow. I didn't realize that. I think probably especially for like teen pregnancies too. I never had an issue finding a sperm donor, and I never paid for one. Well, but there's like a legal process, because if you know who it is, then that guy is technically the dad. But it's like these women will do it because if they get it from a sperm bank or whatever, then whoever donated the sperm will never have custody rights. They'll never be able to get child support from them. Well, they're not supposed to be able to. And it's like ensuring your child will never have a dad. It's really crazy.
There probably would be a lot more love, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe there would be a lot more hate. Or maybe there would be a lot more grotesque people. I don't really know. I don't really know what would happen. I mean, the world is a pretty sexual place right now, whether people like it or not.
I believe that we'd have better relationships because we would accept that that's just a part of human nature and who we are. You know what I mean? Like, you see a hot...
I almost wonder if that would then... if he's kind of saying they'd be open relationships, because if there's no shame around sex and all these things, then I don't know what that would mean. It's like, well, then monogamy, would, I don't know. Monogamy seems to require these outside institutions to make it happen more so. Sometimes it seems that way, but it's like if there's no shame around it, it's like, all right, you guys are just sleeping with whoever you want, whenever.
A girl in the street, you're like, oh my God, she's gorgeous. I want to get to know her. I mean, you'd want to, get into some sexual relations with her. And it is what it is. And like, again, it goes back to the way we've evolved as human beings. We have social media. We have, different ways of making money and bartering and all this type of things. At this point, it's kind of just a service. Right? Because we're the only mammals on Earth that have sex for fun.
Man, I guess that's true. All right, let's check out some comments. Let's see. And then we got modern men are not okay. I really wished Trevor could make it for that. That was his suggestion. Let's see what these comments got to say. A woman, let's see. I don't think it gets bigger. A woman does not love you for being you. A woman loves you for what you can provide. It's conditional love, not unconditional. Modern women in general do not love you for you, just what you can do for her. That's basically the same too. Social media has these women acting and doing things they know aren't good for them because they get so much validation they think it's acceptable. It's truly sad. Tell me you were hurt by the opposite gender without telling me you were hurt by the opposite gender. It's a scary time, and the argument for legalized prostitution sounds the most sane. Crazy that the Elvis impersonator somehow had the best takes of the whole video. He really did, though. I hear these women, and the only thing that comes to mind is insufferable. Yeah. I don't give a F what these 304s want. That's pretty sane. The difference between hookup culture and free love movement was hoflation. This is the comment I was looking for. I was looking for a comment about free love. As it's a transactional agreement with 95% of men, then top 5% who still get the free love. Damn. See, that puts it in perspective. The guys at the top are getting the free love. More free love than they've ever gotten. Yo, Caesar, welcome in, bro. Appreciate you coming in, man. That's pretty much, let's see what the replies say to that. It's always transactional. You either pay with your time or money. Somewhat, but think of the top 5% of the most attractive men and the richest men that are single and don't have to worry about reputation destruction. The money is pennies to them, and the time is a few minutes of invite with time and place. The rest is what we all want, and then they go home, usually with the NDA signed. The lack of moral scruples, standards, education, and culture is so extreme that it's sunk to the level of barbarism. Man, this is something I think about. Like, now that it's completely like free reign in the sexual market, it really is operating on like a barbarous level. It's like warlords that like take a bunch of wherever they can. People are just in and out. You know, you get married, you get divorced tomorrow, you're back on the dating, and people are just cheating on each other left and right. It is barbarism out there. Actually, barbarians tend to be more dignified. Wokeism in a nutshell. Yeah. And the barbarian would treat you better. A lot of these entitled women swear they deserve something, but get super mad when you don't want to pay it. You'll be labeled an incel, a loser, zesty, or something when you just want to be left alone. Some women's true intent, in my opinion, is to coerce men into financing their lives through shaming. That's very true. I mean, that's where you get someone calling someone a dusty. All right, so now we got this one next. Modern men are not okay. I think I just need to take a second. I do got my yerba mate here. What I'm going to do is just take a leak, and then I'll be right back, and we'll get started on the second video here. This was Trevor's request. Modern men are not okay. Be right back. Just got to take a tinkle. All right. Oh, man. Kinky says, here's my question. When did love develop a price tag? That's a damn good question. When did love develop a price tag? Well, I guess if you think about it, traditionally, marriage was the thing with the price tag. Hence the dowry and all these other things. But love was supposed to be something that went against a price tag or anything like that. And people did it. They eloped. It was just about love. Now people are selling love, which is pretty damn sad. All right. Let me just hit a bite of this real quick for some energy, and then we'll take a look at this. Oh, my bad, guys. I just need to re-energize. Is it love when there's a price tag? Well, it sounds suspiciously like prostitution, if I'm being honest with you, Klaus. Oh. Once the government got involved. Yep. Damn, there it is right there. Mr. Pitt, it's a pleasure to see you. I appreciate you being in my streams, man. Honestly. Secular world. In that case, what is love, or how does love form for the individual that says man must make 100K minimum? Yeah, see, that's not love, right? And, you know, I guess to borrow a, the hell do you call that? Like a red pill manosphere point. It's like, it's not genuine burning desire, right? Like, they're going to have genuine burning desire for somebody else. I mean, that conversation about standards and what you got to have, that I feel like I really believe, just from my own experiences with women, it's like that conversation about standards only happens, I guess, when it's about marriage, they're not actually attracted to you, right? That's like the provider conversation. But it's like, if you're flirting with the woman and stuff like that, I feel like that's just like a separate circuit. That's like a right brain, left brain, completely, like that stuff doesn't even come up. I mean, then it's just completely like game and whatever. And then that's how you get them into bed. I mean, truth be told, that's how you make them want you and desire you and seduce them, basically. And it's like, there's no damn talk of standards. Yo, Caesar and Quintana. Dang, man, that's a huge donation right there. Wow. Man, big shout out to you. I appreciate that a lot, honestly, man. You know, whoever donates, dude, I do appreciate that, and I don't take that lightly, because that's hard-earned money right there. So I will honor and respect that. I subscribed after I saw your stream on Red Pill versus Tradcon. It's a topic I really like. I'm a Tradcon, but I'm also a Red Pill sleeper agent at my church. We got a guy on the inside here watching. Man, I mean, I appreciate that. I do think it's really cool, man. I don't know why I was feeling kind of negative lately about the whole Red Pill Tradcon stuff, and I was just, part of me was just getting so sick of the Red Pill manosphere stuff. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I felt like that stuff kind of came to a head, and then it just kind of all lost its steam or something. But I'm keeping my eye out for those battles, but it seemed kind of quiet on that front lately. So we'll see if we get any more of that content. I mean, I'd love to react to some of that stuff. But part of me was kind of feeling negative today, and I feel really bad about feeling negative about it. But I felt like just nothing was going to change, and that the laws were just going to be what it was until it collapses. And honestly, man, at the beginning, like the Red Pill subreddit in like 2013, 2014, that's what they talked about. Enjoy the decline. Enjoy the decline. And I feel like me almost foolishly like believes that something can be done about the laws. And I don't know, man. I was just being negative, and I hate that I was that way. But I'll try to keep my eye on the ball. Dan the Man says, dang, Caesar, we are pretty much in the same boat. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And I respect the religious folk. I really do. Because I feel like you guys are in a tough place. It is easy to kind of throw it all to the wind and then just start spinning. But, you know, I could understand why you'd be reading the Red Pill stuff or consuming the content, because you can see it in real time. Man, I don't know where I read this. I can't remember. It was a comment or somebody telling me, but I read a really nasty story. Oh, yes, I remember now. Damn it. I was going to make a separate video on this that has to do with the teen who found out his parents were cheating on each other or something like that. But it was this really crazy thing. I'm almost tempted to do it on stream now, but I promised myself I wouldn't talk about it and that I'd release it as a standalone video. So I won't, but, you know, anyway, sorry. But thank you again, Caesar. I appreciate that. All right, so let's get started on this. So this was from iTrevor, and this is from a channel called The Conscious Man. So I don't think I've actually heard of this guy before. Let's see if there's anything in the description. No, we got self-improvement, book a phone session, Reunion Plant Medicine Center. This must be a sponsor. The song at the end is called Chase the Light. Alternate titles for the algo. Ooh, that's a smart idea. I should do that also. The future of masculinity and self-improvement. Being a man is difficult. Lonely men. All right, well, Marcus Aurelius, that's Stoicism, Meditations. Okay, so this is going to be a the hero's journey. Yo, I literally got that book on my shelf right now. Check it out. That's Joseph Campbell, a hero with 1,000 faces, and he came up with the hero's journey monomyth that all of Hollywood uses to this day to make films. Epictetus, Seneca, spirituality. I'm sorry, I can't help but read this stuff. Carl Jung. Yo, I got Carl Jung on my shelf right here, right now, too. This is a very challenging book, but if you can ever read it, I think you'd like it. It's called Psychology and Alchemy, and it's all about dream interpretation. And Carl Jung's version of that. I do have Freud's interpretation of dreams. Also interesting, but I like Carl Jung's interpretation methods better. One thing you might not know about me, but I actually write all my dreams down, and I email them to myself, and it's something I've been passionate about. I've been doing it every night, well, every morning for over the last 10 years. So like this is crap. I can't see. It's like this is like all of June, and I got like months going back. But anyways, I think this might be a pretty cool video. It might be a little bit philosophically dense, but we're going to do our best. And you know what? This is a nice departure from the same old kind of manosphere stuff. By the way, the last video was from It's Complicated Channel. Guys, please remember to subscribe to him. So let's go and check this out.
Hey, buddy. So it's been a while since I've started a...
Yo, real quick, too. Some videos, when I react to them, sometimes I'll get a warning on my dashboard here. And it's like if I ignore the warning, it'll just kill my stream. So certain people who don't want their stuff reacted to on YouTube, sometimes they check that button. And I can't really find that out until I'm reacting to it. So I just got to say, I do got to stop this. And if that happens, I will have to stop reacting to it if I get that warning. So I apologize if that happens.
Video when the sun is still up. There's something kind of cathartic about driving as the sun is going down. Hopefully it translates. I notice the focus. I usually set up the shot manually, but whenever the light changes, it kind of messes with the focus. So if my face isn't in focus, just bear with me.
Man, I love content like this. I'll be honest. Like that's why I've been trying to do like the walking vlogs lately. And I've tried doing a couple car videos before. I just like this kind of very like authentic, not in studio look sometimes. And I do hope to get some more of this kind of content out. But this kind of thing does inspire me.
I've been really thinking about this whole self-improvement thing. And I really have a heart for humanity. But the reason why I focus so much on men is because no matter how you look at it, in this day and age, men have it pretty rough. And if you are a feminist, liberal woman watching this, I'm sure you will roll your eyes. But something you cannot argue with is the suicide rate and the fact that that is 80% men. And one difficult part of humanity is some of these people, when you hear that statistic, I have talked to women before, and this isn't going to be a men versus women channel. This isn't going to be a men versus women video, but more so, I'm all about uniting humanity.
All right, interesting. Okay, so far he's talking about the self-deletion rate. I'm kind of interested. I still don't know entirely where he's going with this. I mean, other than men do not have it well lately, and so he's making a justification here. He's like, hey, women, I'm not your enemy, but men need help, and I want to focus on men. All right, so let's see where he's going with it.
Women should be on men's side. Men should be on women's side. But there are a lot of wounded women out there who, when they hear that statistic, they feel nothing. Or if anything, I have met women before where I've told them the statistic and they kind of grin a little bit even. And I could sit here and judge them and say that they are pure fucking evil.
Oh man, I've seen some horrible stuff. So, you know, like, especially like online, you know, people will say mean, hurtful things. They'll be like, oh wow, it's only that, like we got to get those numbers up, and just, you know, mean stuff like that. Or they'll make fun of men or say, you know, just blame men for it and say that they deserve it. I think there was actually a creator named Shoe on Head who made a video or something about that, and it got like a lot of these responses, and it angered a bunch of like women on Twitter who were making fun of the guys not being well.
I really believe that people are basically good, and any trace of evil that comes to the surface is from deep, deep wounding. And, you know, Jesus quote, "Let whoever is without sin cast the first stone."
Okay.
So I'm in this weird space now where I'm careful not to judge people who blatantly seem like they should be judged. I view their behavior, and I just see them as a wounded person.
You know what? I can actually appreciate his approach here because it's different from your typical kind of, and I hate to throw the tradcons under the bus, but you know, the stuff you kind of see, I don't know, as far as like tradcon shaming of everything and just trying to shame men back into this role and, well, you know, marriage sucks, but you guys need to do it anyways and take the chance and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I like his approach. It's a little bit more understanding, a less judgmental. I think that's great.
And all that being said, I care about men. I love men. Not like that.
I was immediately what I thought about. I was like, oh man, someone that could almost be like a sound effect on the board.
A straight dude. But
oh, crap,
whenever I see a lot of guys, I can't help but see a wounded little kid at this point. Because I have been that wounded little kid, so.
This music might copyright me, but whatever. I ain't tripping off that. No Diddy.
Under layers and layers of masculinity, under layers of success and self-improvement, there's a little kid. There's a little boy who didn't get the love that he needed from his parents, who didn't get the love from the people.
Pause. No Diddy, no Rainbow. Yeah. I mean, not to be tough on this guy or whatever, but so far it seems like most of this video is kind of an empathy thing. I don't know if he's going to be getting at any kind of solutions. We're 3 minutes and 43 seconds in. This is a 20-minute video. I do want to react to this because iTrevor requested it. He can't make it. He's not here with us today, but I know he's going to watch the stream after it's done. So I want to do him justice with that. Now, I'm not going to lie. I hate that I'm this impatient. I hate that I'm so impatient that I'm like, get to the damn point already. But I'm going to try to like put that to the side and really just do this justice.
People around him growing up, and that stuff, unless consciously looked at, it turns into a shadow.
Okay, so this is going to be your Jungian psychology.
And whenever it's unhealed, it stays with you. You know, it doesn't go away.
Hey, you know what? I actually agree with that. And, you know, I just mentioned that I write my dreams down, and I've been writing them down for 10 years. And, man, sometimes you'll be surprised at some of the stuff you see that goes, like, way back. And you realize that you have this this emotional knot still deep inside you that has been affecting you from an unconscious level, even though you haven't been aware of it. And you're like, damn, that was from years ago. Like, I didn't know that was still bothering me to this day. And you can even unwork that and, I don't know, come to terms with it, and it'll actually help you. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I agree with what he's saying there. I think that's accurate psychoanalysis.
I think that the future of masculinity,
all right, here's his point,
is men who are owning their inner world, their internal space. I feel like an extreme example of the opposite would be someone like Andrew Tate.
Where Andrew Tate has very much so externalized or projected onto the world versus, I guess, men being okay with who they are internally. I can see that happen. To be honest, that would follow sort of, I think, where the feminists went with it. You know what I mean? Because it's like the feminists got sick of trying to reach the Barbie standard and not feeling woman enough to reach the Barbie standard, to where they all just kind of threw it out the window and said, you know what, I like who I am, whatever, self-love. And I wonder if he's kind of going on a similar thing.
Man, I see a wounded little boy who has built an empire of wealth, of external success.
There we go.
But eventually, if you don't keep that up, if you don't keep up the distraction of adding more and more ego validation.
Essentially, it relies on consumption. And we've talked about this on the channel before. Andrew Tate, at least in my opinion, represents the male equivalent of the Barbie standard for women. So he represents what I would term as a hyper masculinity, a hyper success. You know, someone who's so successful that, like, it just makes everybody else's success seem kind of like I don't know, normal or just not that special. You know what I mean? And men who can't live up to that, and if they're expected to live up to that, and that's the new masculine ideal, it's just unsustainable. Like, that will come crashing down.
More being better than other people, more being intellectually fluent and able to argue with anyone.
I think also what we're seeing here is a kind of, and this might also explain what we'll see as the next red pill iteration. You know, there's been waves of red pill, and it's kind of going from base and profane to more and more intellectual. God, I can't remember the name of the book, but it's like, there are just these different archetypes of men. And it's like Andrew Tate maybe almost represents like the warrior. You know what I mean? Like, in a sense of like someone who's not afraid of confrontation, aggressive, goes out there and gets these things done. But then that sublimates into the philosopher king or some kind of a, you know, like the priest archetype or something like that. And probably in the next iteration of red pill style videos, we'll go from this kind of, I don't know, shock and awe entertainment that we've kind of been used to seeing to possibly some more, you know, higher ideal stuff like this, but we'll see.
You are left with that little boy within who just wants to be seen and wants to be loved. And you can learn how to give that love to yourself. And when you do, it becomes like a superpower.
All right, that's interesting, but he has to give us, you know, what are his strategies for that? How did he do that for himself? What are his experiences? I mean, I kind of discussed some of that in terms of writing my dreams down, looking at different motifs, interpreting them, trying to get that aha moment of why this happened. And that's what I'm hoping to get there from him. I'm trying to get some sort of higher, you know, intellectual, philosophical ideas about this. I want to hear what his own ideas are about this. So far, you know, I feel like we haven't got there yet, but maybe we will. Like, how do you not hurt? That's what you don't want to do. How do you heal this inner child?
Because when you do that inner healing, you're going to be able to look other men in the eye. You're going to be able to stand your ground, be very present, and love them the way they need to be loved. I can't tell you how many times I'm just at the gym working out, and on occasion, you know, a conversation will spark up with one of the other guys in there. Some of these guys are jacked, some of them have tattoos, and we start getting into things, you know? We start talking about these deeper topics because I can't help it. When you develop a level of authenticity and you're coming from a healed place and you just feel like you love humanity because you love yourself, you can't help but dive into deeper topics. It doesn't stay surface level. And so there have been times where I have conversations with guys at the gym, conversation sparks up, and before you know it, we're going deep. You know, I'm asking them questions about their childhood. You know, they're telling me about their parents. You know, they can sense when you have this degree of openness, people just start sharing things with you. And it's rare for another guy to hear you say something like, for example, today I was at the gym and a gentleman, you know, he was saying, oh yeah, I meant to come to the gym and just kind of do a lighter.
Could be a funnel. Yeah, I think I know what you mean, like in the sense of like what's in the description for like book a phone session with me. Okay, you got that. Then there's the school. You know what, let's check this out right now. Let's check this out. Conscious Man Community. Okay, here it is. Private group, 99 members, $50 a month. Man, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why this bothers me. And I want to believe that what they're doing is good and it's worth the $50 a month and that they're not screwing anybody over and that it's not grifting. Because so far what he said in the video, it's not wrong, but he's just telling you these things that like you do know, but he's not giving you the juice in this video. You know what I mean? He's not discussing about how you do that deep work. At least not yet. I haven't got that, but now we got this we got this course here. Okay, it's $49 a month, and you got to remember too. I think Andrew Tate's Hustlers University was just about the same price. Not saying this is this guy, but you know, everybody's out here trying to get you, man. You know what I mean? But okay, whatever. I just got to be more trusting. So let's see what else we got. You are loved. You matter. And you've barely scratched the surface of what you're capable of. Okay, so we got, you know, it sounds sort of self-improvement-y. Not unlike what Hustlers University would be doing. Accountability and support for like-minded men. Okay, we got a tribe being formed. Not unlike Hustlers University, who are determined to become the best version of themselves. We've seen this lingo before. Click the yellow join button right now. Take control of your life. Excited to grow together on this journey towards self-actualization. Okay, that's a very psychoanalysis term. And reaching our goals. What you'll get inside. How I make my YouTube and car chat videos. Oh my God. Okay, so part of this $50 a month is how he makes his videos. All right. Yeah, it's sounding pretty generic. You're right. Kinky Mink says, the first step to awakening your true self is to understand that everyone is or has gone through the same journey. See, that's actually pretty profound right there, Kinky. I do like that. And I do appreciate you did not charge me $49 to hear that. 30... and I guess if I was going to loosely translate what you're saying is that the human journey is archetypal. And that's kind of where you get this book. Man, maybe I should do content on some of this kind of stuff more often. I have read all these, and I think there's a lot of interesting things in there. But this is where you get the monomyth, and this discusses the archetypes of the hero's journey that we all kind of individually go on. 1 second. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I can help anyone free of charge. Appreciate that. Wow, I really do. 2 to 3 weekly Zoom calls and Q&A. Now, I wonder if that's a group lecture or, okay, whatever. Weekly Zoom calls and Q&A. So it's probably a group thing. Valued at $3.99. 30 plus hours worth of previously recorded Zoom calls, okay? Conscious Men's Self-Improvement Community, $1.99. Accountability and support. Body transformation course. Okay, the gym. The meditation course coming soon. Oh my gosh. Okay, so. All right. Well, I mean, hey, listen, I can't say I don't want to be too tough on them, but you know, maybe I just come from a very distrusting background, you know. And then we got book a phone session. Let me see what that entails. We might be able to see what a phone session costs. A phone session for 35 minutes at $150 every 35 minutes. A phone session 1 hour, $220. Listen, man, I just got to say this now. Like, when I was younger in college, I had a fascination with reading about things like Chinese medicine, Vedic medicine from the, you know, old India and stuff like that. And I read so much about different religions, and I still read about different religions. It's very fascinating to me. But one of the things that I learned from like the old school Vedic healers and the way that it was originally supposed to be as far as the ancient Indian medicine goes is that you do not charge your customers, or not, they're not even called customers, you do not charge your patients. It's a free service. And they can donate back to you. Whatever they is appropriate to their means, or whatever they think they feel like is going to make them feel better about you did something for them and they want to pay you back. When it comes to this kind of thing, like, I don't know. I mean, hey, I'm not better than anybody, and I can't knock this guy's business, but it's just like, I would feel better about it if it's just like, I can do a phone session on donation. You know what? You don't even have to give me anything, but if you wanted to, whatever you feel is right. I don't know. I just see stuff like this and it seems a little bit untrustworthy, but okay, let's go in. I mean, it's got the likes. There are people here. If it's helping someone, then I guess that's good.
Workout, you know, he's like an older guy, and he was like, man, I'm gonna be feeling it, my joints are gonna be hurting. And I was like, oh yeah, well, it's good to give up.
Deanna Man says, not gonna lie, this dude sounds like a scam. I know. I don't want to say that yet. Let's just keep watching. I'm gonna make it to the end, because Trevor asked me to do that, and I told him I would.
100%, you know. And he was like, yeah, he's like, man, he's like, my dad was really hard on me growing up, and so you know, he beat the hell out of me, you know, we're like laughing and stuff. And I just kind of paused, man, and I saw him through that filter. I saw this guy as just a little boy, and I just looked at him, And I said, you know, I'm sure your father taught you a lot of lessons that you take with you today. But oftentimes, you know, our parents unknowingly inflict these wounds on us, you know, so there might come a time where you need to just like go within and face some of those traumas. And he just kind of paused for a second. And then we dove in a little bit deeper, you know, and he was telling me some of his past. And this guy starts like tearing up in the gym, you know, we're going deep. And I'm just looking him in the eye, I'm just present with him. And the dude can sense this love that I have for him. I don't know all the inner workings of his life. I don't
see, and it's like I believe his story, and I believe that he has love for that guy, but that was a free love. This goes back to the free love episode It's Complicated made, right? Like, you have a free, genuine interaction. That's something different than like, you know, it's $150 for 35 minutes to talk with me. You know what I mean? And I get it. There's a lot of people, whatever, but it's like, Kinky Mink says, bet I could have a phone session for free that was worth more than he charges. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Honestly, it's like you can meet someone on a train and have a conversation for a bit and get something out of that. Did he charge that dude? I'm guessing he didn't, just because he's framing the story as they were just at the gym. They were just talking. But, you know, that kind of healing can only come from a free place. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to knock therapy, but all I'm saying is that like what he's describing is a genuine, authentic thing. And I just can't buy that with this, you know, this phone session right here. You know what I mean? I don't want to say therapy doesn't work, so I can't knock any of that stuff. But I'm always like a little suspicious of therapists. And I always feel like therapists are kind of like emotional prostitute that you pay to listen to you. And it's just like some of these people pay these people a lot of money so that you can basically take off your metaphorical emotional clothes so that they can look at you, and then you got to just spill your guts or whatever. I don't know. It's just, there's just an element of this. Trevor, if you're listening after the stream, I'm sorry for being tough on this. This is just my reaction to it.
I know all the details of his past.
Secular World says, you're not wrong, but what's his living conditions? Desperate for money to help a loved one? What's his definition of success? Wants a Ferrari? Wants to scale to help more people? Yeah, I mean, it's possible. And that's why I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
But it doesn't matter. Because humanity is one. And when we try to perpetuate a degree of separateness, men versus women, liberal versus Democrat, Christian versus Hinduism, whatever it might be, all of those things just perpetuate separation. It's okay to identify with those things if you want to. You know, you're the creator of your reality. You can do that. But when you start to view other people as less than, and you start to view them as a hostile other, then man, you're missing the point. You really are. And that's okay. I have been there, man. When I was raised in fundamentalist Christianity, anyone of another religion, anyone of a different lifestyle.
I wonder what he is now. So fundamentalist Christianity, and I might get this wrong, but I don't know if he's maybe talking about like evangelical or like maybe a kind of like Westboro Baptist style Christian upbringing. I'm not sure exactly what he would, or if that could even be like the Catholic Church. I'm not sure.
There was just this atmosphere of judgment, you know. And I remember, you know, just thinking to myself, like, oh man, I hope these people aren't going to hell. You know, I hope they find Jesus and realize that our particular interpretation of this religion, of asking Jesus into your heart, I hope they agree with us. I hope they mentally agree with us one day, so that way they don't have to go to hell. And that's just a small example, man. It's just like we perpetuate this degree of separateness. But I digress. The suicide rate is 80% men.
Okay, back to the suicide rate.
Most of us have been touched by that statistic on some level. My father committed suicide when I was younger.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, man. Man, you know what? That reminds me of something. I had a buddy that I grew up with, and we were buddies in high school. He went to a different high school, but we were good buddies. And he ended up joining the Navy. But I remember before he left for the Navy, his father self-deleted. and it was wild. Man, it was just terrible.
And I do bring that up quite a bit on my channel. I do bring that up, but it's not for attention, and it's not for the fact that I haven't healed from it. I have. It's to bring awareness to it, and it's to shine a light on the fact that being a man in this day and age is not easy. A lot of men feel unseen. They've got that little boy within. And it gets perpetuated, you know? It's like feminine energy, especially like the dating market is more difficult than it's ever been. And if you are gaining your self-worth and validation from whether or not women reject or accept you, that's not the metric, dude. That's not the metric that you want to focus on.
I could hear my cat on the other side of the door, but I'll probably let her in towards the end of the stream. 10 minutes, 27 seconds. We got 10 minutes to go.
The metric you want to focus on, here we go. We're going to delve a little bit into spirituality.
All right, let's see.
Is the essence of who you are. And
it's kind of like the spiritualified, or like the priestly interpretation, or kind of sublimating of like the Andrew Tate material self-improvement thing, right? It's like, I don't know, it just seems like taking like, if a typical red pill, or you can say manosphere Andrew Tate thing, you know, like a man's got to be on his path and purpose. And the sort of priestly interpretation of this is, what would you say, like the essence of who you are, and figuring out who you are, and then, you know, understanding the self would be like a psychological or a spiritual versus a material version.
You might be thinking to yourself, well, what does that mean? I don't know the essence of who I am. When you start to ask yourself deep questions, they might start off surface level. You know, ask yourself, who am I? And you'll be like, well, I'm Ryan. I'm Italian. That's my nationality. I'm this religion. I'm
possibly Catholic, possibly.
I'm overweight, or I'm jacked, or I'm whatever it might be. I'm uneducated. I have a PhD. And you keep going deeper. You're like, okay, but like, then who is that? Who am I beneath the surface of all these outer trappings? And eventually you go so deep to the point to where you're just like, I am awareness. I am the consciousness that animates this being. And it can't really be quantified. And when you touch the essence of that, you might get a feeling of bliss. And that feeling of bliss might only last for 10 seconds. And then you'll snap out of it and you'll be like, what the actual fuck was that? And this is how it starts, man. This is how the spiritual path starts. There's this fear of, if you become this spiritual person who's in touch with the divine, that you're going to lose your ambition. You're going to lose your desire to reach external goals. But really, man, the opposite is true. You start to have an added quality to these outer layers of life. But you're not.
Secular World says, how many essences can there be? Aren't we altruistic beings that translate their values to what they're able to do in this world? Well, that comment does seem a little like it requires some unpacking there at the second part of it. How many essences can there be? I don't know. I guess if you think of like a Platonic explanation of everything having a form, maybe everything that exists has its own essence. Or you could think of like the idea of the good that underpins every single form. I would like to think that it's either two things. It's either we all have an individual essence, or the essence is the same for everything. So it's either an infinite amount or just one essence. if it's our being, then there's probably just one essence. Aren't we altruistic beings that translate their values? That part I might need you to explain a little bit. Aren't we altruistic beings that translate their values to what they're able to do in this world? I guess humans sort of project their inner psychic experience onto the world, and that's what we find meanings into things that we project, I don't know, our psychic experience on, and it becomes meaningful to whatever degrees. Altruistic, I mean, humans have an altruistic aspect to them. We should be altruistic. I mean, we can touch each other's hearts in that way. Sometimes we're not so altruistic, and we can be the complete opposite of that. But yeah, I might need a little bit more explanation for that.
Just so attached to outcomes anymore. You become more interested in the doing itself, in the creative process. You become more interested in the flow state of creating, whether it's a piece of art, whether it's
I guess what I would say more so, this video sounds very like tailored and safe for work, so to speak. Like, I could see this guy charging like different, like sometimes we'd have speakers come over to the child support office, and they were just either motivational speakers or whatever. And sometimes we would have like once a year, and you could take different classes. Some people would be art, some people would be doing this. And, you know, this guy kind of reminds me of that. Like, it's just very safe. A corporation or any corporate workplace or government workplace can pay this guy like $5,000 for him to come over and give this specific lecture. It's safe. Nobody's, you know,
piece of music, whether it's your business, a YouTube video. I'm not thinking about anything right now. I'm just in the present. I'm not thinking about the past. I'm not thinking about the future. I'm thinking about you. And I'm thinking about how in this video I can give you 10 minutes of alleviation, 10 minutes of relief from your own psychological perpetual suffering. Because dude, all suffering is, let's define suffering for a minute. Pain is whenever you injure yourself. Okay, say you get a cut and you're like, ow, that hurts. Suffering is perpetuating that. It's, oh man, I hope this heals.
Damn the man. Sorry, I Trevor, but this video is killing me. Man, you know what? How about this? Okay, I think we're 13 minutes, and let's just take a look at the comments real quick, and let's just see the reception it had. We don't really got to finish it. I think we kind of got the gist of it. I'm actually interested to hear what Trevor has to say about it, but let's see. Man, I'm gonna let my cat in real quick. She's just crying. Somebody must have let her in from real quick, just so she might derail this. But we'll look at the comments together. All right. Now she's gonna be bad. Okay, let's see what this says. Hey, look, okay. Man, it's like you spoke right to me. I've been sitting here in tears with a gun to my head. Oh, man. I just hit my 30s and have nothing to show for it. I feel like my life is over. Or even if I do get it turned around, nobody will care. Our world has become so separated these days. Nothing even makes sense anymore. I am battling constant pain every day. I can't leave my place. I can't talk to people. Some traumatic stuff happened over the past 10 years, and tonight I just snapped. I picked up my phone to see if anyone responded to my text. Nobody did, but I saw the YouTube app and thought maybe a funny video would take me out of this dark headspace. Funny videos only made it worse. Then I saw your video and clicked. Hey man, good for this guy. You know, if it helps somebody, then, you know, the video deserves a like. You know what's crazy? And when I think about someone like this, it's like this guy could run into a Andrew Tate clip about how you got to be so freaking, I don't know, rich and Bugatti this and Bugatti that. And this guy right here would feel probably more like crap after reading that. So what, you know, if it helps someone, then great. As a young man, I don't see the point of existing in this evil ass world and society that shame all of us. See, and you gotta remember the people out here that are talking about bringing shame back. Guys like this on the edge. I mean, is it gonna help? I don't know. You know, left the gym yesterday and felt depressed walking back to my truck. I knew a long and lonely weekend was ahead of me. I love the gym and eating real food. Got up this morning to make my first meal, but put everything back in the refrigerator and got back in bed. The loneliness and depression is too much sometimes. I'll just play video games today. 40-year-old Air Force vet here. Damn. That's sad. This camera style outside the car's unique way to film got me watching. LOL. Klaus says, I'm not his target audience, that's for sure. Lots of words, but I don't see a point being made. Yeah, I mean, Klaus, I'm with you on that. I definitely don't feel like the target audience also. If it helps some people, great, you know. I'm 49 years old, 50 in August. Fingers crossed I score this job from KFC. It's a 5-minute walk from my home. I hope that guy's joking. Moo the Maori. We men hurt in silence. Ow. Ow, what did you bite me for? All this hurt comes from a lack of God in our lives, and we try to fill the void with money, sex, status, men, women, and honestly, it's just never going to be enough. Yo, Trevor, welcome in, bro. I just watched I got through 13 minutes of it. It's kind of a little I don't know how to explain it. Like I think it's really for guys that are just like really, really going through it, and it can be helpful. We did take a look at his plan. He charges $50 a month for the thing, so we're a little skeptical about it, to be completely honest. But yeah, damn, I don't know if I can sum it all up. What we were reading, we were a little. He's not bad. It's just like he kind of just wasn't giving us the juice. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they dwell a little too much in their own suffering. That's true. There is enormous pressure for men to provide for a family, always be there, and never show any emotion whatsoever. I'm 60 years old, no children. Man, I'm always interested to hear from older guys that don't have kids, because it's just, I don't know. I'm just curious in their perspective. Like, you know, it's for me, like a MGTOW guy who got divorced, has 2 kids. It's a lot easier to do, but for someone who's kind of never reached that, I'm very curious. No children, never married, recently lost my job. Damn, that sucks. And he's 60. For the last few weeks, I've been thinking about how the remainder of my life will be, and it doesn't look good. If I live too long, all I have to look forward to is living in a retirement home, having someone wipe my ass. That is my biggest fear. No. Being a burden to someone, not going to happen under my watch. Damn. This is exactly why in conversation I refer to any man as brother. We are all brothers and sisters in the eyes of God. Okay. My mother used to beat me up because my father decided to not like me. I broke contact, and I am developing in my personal areas. Also, I understand my past traumas more. I realize I can generate value outside family circle. You know, I guess my overall take is I don't know. If these guys could talk about this stuff, then great. Darts Adonius. Yo, welcome in, Darts Adonius. I got my cat. She just needed to be inside. Well, I missed the whole thing because I had to take a call. I will rewatch later, hopefully. Man, I appreciate you coming in here and saying hi. And no pressure to watch, man. It's okay. You know, I'll be here next week for sure. Saturday at 7 is when I try to do that. And hopefully if I'm good tomorrow, I got tomorrow off, I'll even make some standalone videos. Cute cat, what's his name? What does it identify as? Well, her name's Mimi, though I don't know if I've exactly asked how she identifies, to be honest. You know what, man? I didn't really go out looking for a cat. It just sort of appeared one day. One day, like, there was a kitty cat crying on my driveway. And, you know, we fed it. And then the next day it was still there. So then we just let it live here. And now she just lives here. Which is, nope. I know what you're trying to do, buddy. if you're bad, you're gonna have to go back. Pretty kitty, thank you. Shah, my question was he genuine in the video, or is he like another Andrew Tate? Oh my God. Okay, yeah, Trevor, you get it. This is exactly what we were talking about while I was reacting. And I don't want to say he's not genuine, but man, this is very similar to Andrew. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's definitely more positive. And I think it's great that the self-improvement hypermasculinity thing isn't there. But I don't know, man. It did seem a little Andrew Tate-y, but in a more priestly sort of way. That's what I said earlier. Again, you know, I think if you watch the free content and it helps, I would never be against that. But, you know, I don't want to say he's like this toxic Andrew Tate guy, but it also does seem a little monetized, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, $49 a month. I don't know. Hey, it's better than probably Hustlers University, where you end up just making shorts of Andrew Tate and buying whatever crap cryptocurrency he wants you to buy. And listen, I get it. There's positive things with Andrew Tate too, but the money thing is usually where I start to be a little suspicious of. I have a feeling if you are that depressed like the guys in the comments, you better get some professional help. That's probably the most rational explanation. At the very least, man, I don't know, man. You know, I think it's important to have people in your life to talk to, like that are like your friends or just people you can talk to. It's very important to cultivate a tribe. And I don't want to be one of those guys that says men and women can't be friends. I typically do live my life that way, but I'm glad. One thing I feel like a guy should focus on is cultivating friendships, because there are certain conversations I feel like it's better to have with only men. And especially letting out certain emotions and stuff like that. Being able to have guys in your life to do that is amazing. And not guys you got to pay to do that for, but just anything. Secular World says, when money is involved, it can dilute authenticity. Yeah, and there's a risk of that going here. I mean, this is definitely new. Sounds like he's a PhD. But Trevor, what I would say kind of bothered me the most about the video is that, as someone mentioned it in the comment, it does feel more like a sales funnel. And it does feel a little inauthentic. I don't want to call him inauthentic. I mean, like, I don't want to be insulting, but it feels like it's a little bit of a sales funnel to, like, because I feel like there's kind of some holding back in the video, where like a 100% authentic, genuine commentary from him. Sorry, I'm getting cat hair in my nose. He would not have held back on a lot of stuff, like when it comes to healing the inner child and I don't know, just certain stuff like that. But I just get wary when I see money. So, you know, hey, again, you know, the comments seem to show guys that are appreciating it. And it's nice to have an alternative from the self-improvement bro crowd. And not that this guy isn't self-improvement, but it's a different kind of thing. So, hey, you know, good for him. That's why I love your content. You keep it real. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It means a lot, honestly. Glad you're able to make it, man. I think probably now that Mimi's here and, well, she's going to find her way to derail the show. I don't really have anything else to react to, so I'll probably call it 2 hours and 27 minutes. Man, I do have a lot of videos I need to make. Ow, ow, ow. You're just going to bite me now? There you go, buddy. Nope. All right, no, it's cool. Just show everybody that you want to just cause destruction. Yeah, I'll probably call it. Oh, no. Come on, let's go. There we go. Thinking fast, slow-sighted studies on how the mere association of money in our minds changes behavior. Yeah, I would love to see. I mean, I bet there are studies on that, to be honest. I don't know, man. I've just been, you know, inundated with, there's just so many grifters out here that you got to be careful, you know. I think if you're in a really low point, spending a little bit of money is not the end of the world. But there are so many people out here that are preying on desperate guys, you know what I mean? And like some of the guys in these comments, you know, they might have found Hustlers University or something that was more like this. And I don't know, you know, like when people are in that vulnerable state, they can be programmed very easily. So it's very scary. Tinfoil hat moment. What if he paid for those comments? Bro, listen, I'm going to be really honest with you. When I saw the comments, I immediately thought that, but I was like, nah, man, that's messed up. Like, don't even say that. I'm glad somebody else had that instinct too, because it does feel a little too convenient. Like, it feels a little too convenient that all the comments are like super about it. I don't know. Let's look at a few of them. If you're a father, your kids need you. Man, this community hit me by surprise. I needed to hear this. I'm 34 years old and became an alcoholic when my mother passed. Like, some of them feel, like, I don't know. That one feels genuine. I'm still standing. Try to help people. They come my way. I never cry when watching your videos, but this did it. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. I want to say, you know, okay, I want to say that they're genuine. I'm hoping that they're genuine. I want to hope that they're genuine. Let's look at the rest of the channel. Let's give them a fair go. You know what I mean? It just feels a little...
When I was a kid.
It feels a little preachy. Be a man.
I thought that a real masculine man was just better than everyone else. Larger than life, untouchable, calm, stoic, powerful. Men wanted to be you, and women wanted to be with you.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels a little put together. How I filmed the car chats course included. Let's grow together. Desexualizing your brain is a myth. Rainy car chat. So that seems to be kind of his deal. He does the in-car chats. Listen, man, there's probably nothing really wrong with the free content. I just get a little wary when I see the charge stuff. Klaus is definitely right. If I was ever at that moment in my life, I would get professional help and not a YouTube video. Yeah, I mean, you know, and that is right. And you know, you should definitely do that. I mean, I would be incredibly, I think, irresponsible to not recommend that to people, especially if you're at that point in life. Can women smell retention on you? Okay, so he's got a nofap. This is a semen retention video right here. Man, I used to follow the nofap subreddit and the semen retention subreddit for a time. And you know what, man? I think that stuff does help to some extent. Let's see what else he's got. Face your inner darkness. Let go of the outcome. I don't think he's like bad or anything. I don't think that. I want to believe part of this is genuine. I want to believe part of it's genuine. I really do. Holistic self-improvement advice for guys. Mental health, motivation, fitness, spirituality, and dating. You know, and part of it is like, I think a lot of us guys are, this space has just been ripe and full of grifters for like a while, and I think any of us who've been in this space for a while is so damn used to seeing that we're just incredibly distrustful of anyone asking for money in this space. You know what I mean? Secular World says perhaps professional didn't help. Rates of success is pretty low in therapy counseling. I've heard that too. You know, I guess on a kind of philosophical level, one thing for me is like I've realized that like I was actually doing a walking vlog on this the other day and I didn't post it because I felt like I did a bad job with the video. But I feel like the only thing that can make you happy is if you do something uncertain or you confront the unknown every single day in some way. You know, routine and certainty tend to make me depressed. And unless I'm pushing a boundary on something, even if it's just like a little bit or a little challenge, whatever that happens to be in my life, telling the girl you like her, trying to make a sale on some other different thing, trying something new, something that makes your heart beat, like where you get scared a little bit, that right there helps make you feel alive and good about yourself. Darth Sidonius says, wow, that was almost as bad as those videos that MLD used to do. The Just Endure guy. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember that guy. When it came to physically abusive relationships. Yeah, he got canceled pretty hard. His whatever podcast moment really did him in. Kinky Minx, I'm wondering what the next topic will be. Well, This guy seems to just be kind of on mental health, and men will never evolve until they do this. The heroic dose for higher states of consciousness. He's talking about mushrooms. Why I'm not Christian anymore. You know what? Let's watch that. Let's see. That's 29 minutes. I won't torture you guys with it, but I'm actually very curious about that.
Believe it or not, I am a huge
I don't know why. I don't feel like being religious is entirely incompatible with this way of life. So I am kind of curious why he would have decided to lose his religion. There is a part of YouTube, and I used to watch this part of YouTube that I don't want to call it new agey, but kind of like Hermetic philosophy and that kind of stuff. I used to be very interested in that stuff. And there is like a whole kind of niche for that sort of like Gnostic style stuff, esoteric style stuff. So let's see where he kind of goes with it. They sometimes wind up self-deleting after therapy. He also gives Prince EA vibes. Man, I can't remember who that is. I gotta look that up. I saw this guy is no longer a Christian, so I have no idea what he was talking about spirituality. Well, we're gonna find out. I mean, if you guys don't mind staying for a little bit longer, I'll try to make it quick. The whole thing's 28 minutes. I'll try not to do that. Can we go off the wall? Yes, we can. To be honest, if you would like to dabble into philosophy, the Rick Roderick series are a lot better. Yeah, the Rick Roderick is good. Man, one of these days I should react to one of his streams. Man, I love that guy. All right, let's go for it.
fan of Jesus. I spent most of my life...
Like ghosts and spirits and things? Absolutely, Kinky. That stuff is all fair game.
We're talking 30 years identifying... Believe it or not, I am a huge fan of Jesus.
Okay.
I spent most of my life, we're talking 30 years, identifying as a Christian. I see comments all the time of people saying, oh, I hope he finds Jesus. Keep searching, bro. You need Jesus. What people don't understand is I actually have a very deep understanding and knowledge of the Bible. I was raised in it. Now, while I'm a huge fan...
Listen, I'm just going to say something real quick here, and I'm not saying this guy's doing this, but I could kind of see a little bit, especially how he was talking in the last video. People reach this kind of enlightenment thing, and it does happen to people. And I feel like for guys, sometimes it happens in their early to mid-20s, and for women, it happens in like their late 30s, early 40s. I don't know why. I don't even know if I'm right about this. It's just something I've noticed. But I feel like some people kind of get so far into this, and they have this spiritual awakening, and they almost feel like they're like, I don't want to say that they believe that they're a divine being, but they almost feel like they're like a prophet. The most recent example, well, not recent. You can almost say Andrew Tate, probably before converting, had a little bit of this. Kanye West definitely had this. Kanye West had this. And you remember he made that song, I Am a God. And I remember when I heard that, I'm like, oh God, this is the beginning of the end for Kanye. But when these people tend to have this kind of very like, oh my God, enlightened belief or whatever, your mind cannot handle it. It will collapse into itself if you believe that like you are the next prophet sent here. A prophet complex is what it called. And I'm not, is what it's called. I'm not saying that this guy is doing that, but all I'm saying is just like, be wary.
Fan of Jesus and the wisdom that he shared throughout his time here. I don't identify as a Christian because most Christians here in the West, most people in America identify as Christians. They have a very...
It has this sort of like, in the last video, like this prophet complex of like, I'm here to save you, all of you wayward souls. You know what I mean? Come, follow me. He's not saying that in a sense, but it's like cult leaders and even Andrew Tate style cult leader types tend to walk down this sort of archetypal path.
Strict belief that you have to...
And you have to be very careful with that.
Accept the person of Jesus Christ into your heart as your Lord and Savior. Otherwise, you're going to this geographical location called hell when you die. Once I started having very objective experiences with the divine, I realized...
See, objective experiences with the divine, right? See, this falls into the prophet complex. Like, I have had direct divine experiences from a very individual level, and I'm now inspired to spread whatever divinely inspired messages and things I've received. I don't know. You just got to be careful with that.
How false this is, and how much of a manifestation of the collective human ego this interpretation of Jesus is. For example, Japan, I think it's something like 1% of Japanese population identify as fundamentalist Christians, which means that 99% of Japan is going to hell when they die. I actually have a lot of compassion and a lot of patience for fundamentalist Christians because that was my entire life. For the first 30 years, it was my identity. If I met a nice person, I was always secretly hoping that they knew Jesus so that way they weren't going to hell when they died. What broke me free of that belief was my objective experiences with the divine. I've had moments where I've had...
Listen, man, I can understand that someone gets annoyed with the literalist teachings of a particular religion. Like, let's say you grew up in a religion and a lot of people struggle with like these literalist things. And it's just like, well, how can a snake talk? And how can a woman be made out of a guy's rib? And then none of this makes it two of every animal. Like, that's all a lie, you know? Like, you really believe that? That's not rational. And then you're like, okay, there's a metaphorical explanation to a lot of this stuff. And it's true. When you look at the religious stories, there are the literal interpretation. Then there's different layers of allegorical and metaphorical meanings. And I really myself believe that. And I write my dreams down every night. And there are literal interpretations of what happened in the dream. And then there are metaphorical interpretations of what the dream actually means. But when it comes to just abandoning your religion in favor of these esoteric understandings of the religious stories, you have to understand that there's just different purposes for these things. Like, there is a very internal psychological world that has a metaphorical approach. But when it comes to keeping an entire community of many different humans together, certain accepted interpretations of the beliefs and the stories are what they are. And there's a kind of outer worship that keeps people together as a community versus like this internal individualistic interpretation. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, if you're selling that the exoteric understandings of religion is useless and you should only focus on the esoteric ones, I kind of look at that as a partially destructive thing, because you're kind of tearing apart the simple understandings of religion that hold community together in favor of like, hey, everybody can understand these esoteric ones, which in my opinion, most people don't even need to concern themselves with that. And it just depends on what kind of life you're living. So I don't know. Again, this goes into the prophet complex.
I had these very profound conversations with the divine, a back and forth, in dreams, during meditation, and even during plant medicine sessions. It's wild to see.
Okay, so we're talking ayahuasca, we're talking mushrooms, probably peyote. He mentioned dreams. And listen, I told you earlier, I'm a guy, I write all my dreams down, you know, and I think about them and interpret them. I do believe in spiritual experiences, but there's just this kind of like excitement a person will get if they get that. And I feel like you can go off the rails with that.
See some of the...
Klaus says, well, objective experience with divine, at that point I'm out, but that's my personal view. Klaus, that sounds like a very like, you know, rational view.
The fear-based comments I get on certain videos. People are calling me a wolf in sheep's clothing, a satanic Freemason. There was even a comment saying that I'm clearly demon-possessed because you can't see my pupils. I'm Italian.
See, man, and it's just like, what happens is a guy like this has this kind of spiritual experience, and what he feels like he needs to do is go to preach to everybody and be like, no, this is the truth. This is really what it is. And all it is it's kind of destructive to the community. You know what I mean? And then like the rest of like his Christian folks are in these comments and they're just like, dude, you're demon possessed. They're not going to like that. I mean, if you read like Plato's Republic, what you learn is that anybody who's like, you know, trying to come out here and be like, this is the truth, eventually the society will excommunicate them or execute them. That's what happened to Socrates, right? He was put on trial for impiety. And Socrates was the wisest man in Athens, but Athens got pissed off at him because they were like, you're corrupting the youth. You're doing anti-religious things, until they got rid of him, you know.
I have dark brown eyes. I'm not demon possessed. I also understand that some of the viewers have seen my mushroom trip video that I made a while back, where I'm having these channeling experiences and these seemingly dark entities are coming to the surface and speaking through me. If you look into Carl Jung's work, human beings have...
Okay, so it was a run-in with the shadow unconscious archetypes. I mean, if you write your dreams down, Carl Jung has well documented kind of what the pathway for the dream life is. It starts off typically with running into the shadow archetype, and then once you assimilate those unconscious elements, you tend to run into the anima next. And so that's where he's going with it.
Autonomous personalities living within their subconscious that they're unaware of. When you have deep wounds and deep traumas, and you face those things in a very real way, they can come to the surface and they can be very shocking. It's not demons. A huge theme in the Bible is that you will know people by the fruit of their actions. I know a lot of fundamentalist Christians where the fruit of their life just is not good. And you will know a tree by their fruit. Of course, I don't want you to take my word for it. You're on your own path, your own spiritual journey, if you're someone who's seeking. I had a really great conversation with someone in the Conscious Men community. His name is Jonas. And so I just wanted to share a clip with you of us discussing some of these things. We don't just talk about Christianity, we talk about what spiritual awakening is, what enlightenment is, the difference between...
It's a little bit, and I don't want to write it off. I do think he's authentic and genuine when he's speaking about these things and that he really believes it. But I think this is a situation where it's like, you kind of touch fire a little bit, like this is an Icarus flying too close to the sun kind of thing. Like there can be huge irresponsible ripple effects from what you're trying to do. It's like when you see the truth. If you ever read Plato's Republic, it's a good book. We'll talk about this one day. There's a thing in there. It's called the allegory of the cave. Okay, so in the allegory of the cave, it's just like Socrates talks about that there's a bunch of chained up prisoners, and it's like they've been there since birth and they live in this cave and they can't move anything because they're in bonds, but all they can see is like this light projected onto a wall, and all they can see is shadows that every now and then cross in front of the light, and they see the shadows projected on the wall. Now, the prisoners don't know what's causing that, but eventually some of the prisoners get really good at guessing some of the characteristics about these shadows on the wall. And, maybe they can guess which ones are going to show at what time, and they come up with certain ideas and theories about them, and some of them become their learned class of prisoners who are like, yes, these are what the shadows are. Here are officially accepted explanations about the shadows, okay? Now, one day, one of the keepers, who are walking these little things across the fire, unchains one of the guys and pulls him up. And then the guy he turns around for the first time and he sees what's causing the shadows. It's, whoever's in charge there that walks across with a pot in front of the fire, and then that makes the shadow on the wall. So he sees what the actual thing is. And then they take it a step further and they take the guy outside of the cave. So for the first time, he sees the outside of the cave and it's so bright from the sunlight. He's only been used to firelight. And it takes a while for his eyes to adjust. You know what I'm saying? And he sees, at first, he can't even barely, he's got to be nighttime. He's got to see the reflection of the stars in the water. And then he sees the daytime and he sees the trees and everything. So anyway, he's like, I got to go back in. I got to tell everybody about this. So he goes back into the cave. He comes back and he's like, guys, you got to believe me. This is what the shadows are. This is what's out there. None of this it's all an illusion, basically. It's not true. And everybody in the cave is like, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Here are our experts about the shadows. If you can't best them in a debate, then, we won't believe you. And so this guy gets into a debate, with the best of the best, and his eyes are now used to the outside. They're not used to the shadow stuff anymore, and he does a crap job of explaining it, and they're all like, this guy needs to die. He's bad. You know what I mean? And that's what happened to Socrates, basically. It's an allegory, but this guy's kind of dealing with that. It's like, okay, he got out of the cave. I believe him. I believe that he's had some kind of spiritual experience. I really do. But when you're coming down off that high, you got to be very responsible with how you go into the community with that.
Pain and suffering. I just thought it was an interesting conversation that might be of value to some of you. I have a...
you got a family and they're all of whatever religion, in this case, Christians in the church, and they're the kids are going to Bible study and the family's holding the family together and they're part of the community. And then this guy comes along and he's just like, no, it's this and this, and this is really the truth. And he's trying to tell your kids this, and then everybody's just going to get pissed at him.
Reverence for the Bible and all spiritual texts, but the Bible specifically, there are tons of misinterpretations that I think were skewed specifically by the church to control people. Whenever you constantly believe that you're this wretched, shitty human who needs an external savior, you're going to be very easy to control and very easy to manipulate. The church,
very anti-community. I'm sorry to keep harping on this, and again, we live in a free society. I love that, and I love that we can think about any ideas we want to think about. It's amazing.
Knew this. They were very smart. I believe that Jesus was very important because it showed us what the potential of human beings was once they go within.
Kinky, take it easy. I appreciate you coming in here, really do. Big shout out to you. I'll probably cut the stream soon. I just couldn't help but look at this. I'm like 3 minutes in. It's 28 minutes. I'll probably go for another couple minutes and then call it. But thank you so much for coming in tonight.
The true essence of their being. I believe his message was love. And if you are a fundamentalist Christian and you believe the Bible in every aspect, literally, there's no judgment there, and I understand. You might even be praying for me that I find Jesus. But what I have found is exactly what Jesus was trying to share with the world. When your eyes have been opened and you have objective experiences with the divine, there's just no going back. When I gave up my faith in literalist Christianity, I lost friends, I lost family. I basically had to allow my whole past life to die, and it was very painful. So it's not something that I take lightly. I just want to say some of these things because when I was sort of going through that transition and I was very confused, I thought that spirituality might all just be bullshit. I think a video like this would have helped me along the way. One thing I'll say is don't ever take anybody's word for anything. Be a seeker, open your heart, search for truth on your own. The problem with a lot of literalist Christianity is that these people, they stop seeking because they believe that since they've asked Jesus into their heart, they have all the answers. And so they close their heart, they close their mind to everything else. The divine did not stop speaking to people 2,000 years ago. The divine still speaks today more than ever. So now that you have context, I hope that you enjoy the clip. You are loved, you matter, and you've barely scratched the surface of what you're capable of.
Yeah. Well, dude, that...
Okay. Well, I think I'll just stop it here. I mean, there's a lot more of this. I almost do want to finish that. And you know what? I'll even give him a like, man, just because this provided content. Hey, man, good for him. Let's see what the comments say, though. How do you know that you are talking to the divine? Okay, here we go. Here comes the challenging comments. And not evil disguised as the divine. Ooh, okay, here comes a real quandary. Lucifer appeared as an angel of light on the Bible and to many saints. But we'll go with the Bible since you seem to have the Protestant notion of sola scriptura. Wow, this is a long comment, but here we are. And how do you know that your interpretation of the Bible is correct? How do you know that what Jesus actually meant? How could he have been a man when he himself claimed to be God and one with the Father? How do you know the things that Carl Jung claimed are true, even though they are completely subjective psychological observations and sometimes even extended to subjective dreams and visions he had? Christian fundamentalists are wrong. Obviously, you should check out orthodoxy. You say that you love Jesus and that you think the Bible is great, but you can't cherry pick. Man, I wonder if this guy replied to him. You can't cherry pick what serves your beliefs and discard the rest. Just read Matthew 16, 17, 19. Jesus came to fulfill the old covenant to establish the new Israel, the Orthodox Church, and also this notion that if you are not a Christian, you will go to hell is usually Protestant. The thief on the cross wasn't a Christian, so how was he saved? Okay, this goes on. So there's a bit of scripture. Let's see what the reply is. Amazing. I wish your comment was endless. I wanted to continue reading. Damn, when was this? This was 3 weeks ago. He still hasn't responded to this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's just like, hey, my video is my response. Okay, so be it. I recently walked away from the Christian denomination I was raised in. It has been an interesting and enlightening walk for the last year and a half since then. Psychedelics may not be necessary to trigger an awakening. Self-improvement, ego death, traumatic life events, or even a nice experience like a sunset can start the awakening. What keeps it going is getting into the learning phase. But that is only scratching the surface. You think you understand it all spiritually, medically, psychologically, scientifically, then it hits you, touches, or the WTF moment happens, to you, and only you that makes you know that there is more. Yeah, man, this really reminds me of, you remember when YouTube was like new, and this kind of stuff, the whole like spiritual awakening stuff was big on YouTube. It was big. And man, I remember the conspiracy part of YouTube. And I remember when they came after the conspiracy videos on YouTube, man, and because it was taking over YouTube, and then they did something about it. It was a big tragedy for a lot of those guys. Caesar, oh man, big shout out to Caesar. Yo, Caesar Quintana with the $9.99. I appreciate that again. I think this is your second donation here in the same stream, man. Big appreciation, and I really do appreciate that. I'll talk to him and get to the bottom of it. They call me the Spanish Inquisitor. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that. As I was reading this, when he was talking about some of the stuff, and I was like, this is exactly how the Inquisition started. I think I talked a little bit about this in my last video, but that was around the time of the printing press. Like, let's look this up. Printing press invention date. 1440. Let's look up Spanish Inquisition. Inquisition date. Look at this. The printing press is made in 1440. Spanish Inquisition is 1478 to 1834. Why are these two related? Well, it's related because you started getting cheap translations of the Bible, and they were cheap and easy to make and mass produce. So pretty soon what you had is you had like Joe the blacksmith, you had, you know, Klaus the cobbler, Martin the baker, and they were all, you know, after they worked a long day of doing whatever they did for the community, they came home and they would read their Bibles, and one half of it had the Latin Vulgate and the other half had like common German or whatever language it was, and they're reading their Bible at night next to a candlelight flame, and they're like, wait a minute, I always thought it said this, but it actually says this. And they're reading, you know, what's essentially probably a rough translation, and they do not have the clergy explaining to them why the traditional, you know, church accepted belief is what it is. And you start to get all these guys coming up with all their theories, and it leads to the Inquisition, because they're just like, we just can't have this, man. There's too many heresies going on. Anyway, sorry, I had to go into that, but I get where you're going with that. Before you go, any book recommendations that you like to revisit? Man, you know what? Let's see what I got on the shelf here real quick. Oh, thank God, the cat's sleeping. Okay, well, we talked about Plato's Republic. You know, I know this guy's a big fan of Jung. I'm a huge fan of psychology and alchemy. This is a very dense book. But what this book is about is basically what Carl Jung was. He created, you know, he was a disciple of Sigmund Freud, who created psychoanalysis, you can say, modern psychology. And Carl Jung, he actually could read ancient Latin. He could read ancient Greek. He knew a good amount of languages, and he was actually translating old alchemical texts into, you know, the everyday German or whatever it was. And what he noticed was that when he was doing his psychoanalysis of his patients, that what he was finding is that the dreams of his patients actually matched the motifs in these alchemical texts he was reading, but that there was no way his patients could know that, because none of these texts had even been translated into the common tongue. There's no way they would know that. So he created his entire psychoanalysis based off of alchemy, basically, because there were certain motifs there. But what this book really is it's basically a series of dreams from an eminent physicist of the time, Wolfgang Pauli, and then it has Carl Jung's description of alchemy and how it applies to this guy's dreams. It's fascinating. I do like it. I think it's very good. Alchemy is one of those interesting things that have threaded from ancient Egypt all throughout the Middle East and China and Europe. And it has a rich history, but you could really get, that is the rabbit hole of rabbit holes. Let's see what else we got. If I would say before getting into this, I would read A Hero with a Thousand Faces. This was Joseph Campbell. He was a comparative mythologist. And he did a good job at looking at all the mythologies of the world and kind of seeing what was in common with them. And he came up with the monomyth, or the hero archetype. I will say most of the books that I do read are actually on my Kindle. And so I don't really have hard copies of everything that I like. If you're pretty religious, I would still recommend you read this. This is Friedrich Nietzsche's On the Genealogy of Morality. I really should do a stream just off this. This is a really good book. But what he was is he was a philologer, okay? And basically, he knew languages very well. So he kind of had a critique of prior psychologists and, well, technically not psychologists, but philosophers, people who studied the human condition and where our values came from. And he said that they never really did it the right way, and that what you should be looking at is the etymology of words to understand how the values that humans have, like good and evil and good and bad, came to be. And he found some really interesting things when you look up the root words of good, when you look up not the root words, but the etymology of good, the etymology of evil, and what good and bad used to mean. So another good one. Caesar Quintana says, yeah, you're right. I'm familiar with the history of the Bible translations. There was a point in my life I wanted to be a Latin mass priest, but I was rejected. Wow. Man, that's I respect that only because, you know, the only Latin I've seen is like in some of these books, and you know, a language that's that old and not many, you know, people speak it, and you got to be trained in that, and then to, you know, I guess be rejected for it. That's unfortunate. I wonder why. I don't know. It's just fascinating because I know all of that's done in Latin, so you'd have to have a oh crap, they're trying to play ads. Oh, I skipped it with 3 seconds. Yeah, that would seem like a pretty big commitment. Guys, just hit the like button. Oh man, I appreciate that. Let's see other books, man. I got a lot of them. Yo, you know what, man? I even read a women's studies book before. I don't know if I'd recommend this, but this is from Esther Harding. She wrote Women's Mysteries. That was okay. Let's see. We got some more Nietzsche. We got Rousseau, Kant. Man, this is a book I'd love to finish, but this is called, this is the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I actually used to stream myself reading that on Twitch. Another important book, but man, I would just watch the Rick Roderick lecture on this, but this is Simulacra and Simulation. The Matrix was somewhat inspired from this. This is a French philosopher, and he talks about a concept of the hyperreal. It's actually very interesting. I should really talk about that too when I get a chance. What else do I got here? Leviathan, Old Book of Fairy Tales. We got the Divine Comedy. I only had this because my buddy had to do a college report on this, and he didn't want to read it. So he invited me over, and I did the whole thing for him. But it's a pretty good book. I mean, this is some classic literature right here. Man, this is a book I wish I read, but I didn't read the whole thing yet. This is called The Origins and History of Consciousness. Oh my God, there's another book I want to share with you. Do I have it here? Dang it. There's another book that was really an inspiration to me, and it was called The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind by Julian Jaynes. And that book talked about the left-right split of the brain and its impact on human consciousness, and it's actually really good. The more updated version of that would be The Master and His Emissary, which I've been trying to get through, but it's a tough book to get through. Anyways, man, I feel like I'm just kind of inundating you guys with books, but man, I really do love reading and stuff like that, man. And honestly, you know what, man, my first YouTube video that I ever made, and it's privated on my channel now, I got my first camera, I think it was after Trump got elected in 2016. Late 2016, and my first video that I did, which was me sitting at a desk, and it was actually talking about oh God, this is gonna fall over. It was actually talking about this. I can always unprivate it, and then you can see what my first or second YouTube video looked like. But I actually started the channel wanting to talk about a lot of this stuff, and just, I don't know, just I loved this kind of stuff for a while, man. And then you know what happened is I started working at the child support place, and I don't know what happened, man. I didn't read a lot in the child support place because the job was kind of reading intensive, as weird as that would seem. It doesn't seem like it, but it kind of was. And when I'd get home, I don't know, man. I just didn't have it in me. And it's actually not till I quit child support that I really started reading a lot more, because what I do now is not like reading and writing intensive. So it's just really weird. Mr. Pitt says, Friedrich Nietzsche's book might explain why the left keeps trying to control speech. Yeah. Yeah, his books were kind of gone for a while until like the mid 60s when they started bringing it back. And that's how you started getting a lot of people wearing black. But it's actually really good, man. And I'm very grateful. I don't even think I'd understand this book if I didn't take it like in the form of a class. I did take this in college, and I don't know, man. I just feel like my mind wasn't there to be able to deconstruct some of these texts and understand what they were saying. But for me, I typically need books that have really good annotations on the bottom. Like, oh God, why do I keep doing this to myself? Honestly, like this one has it. Like, let me see. Sorry. Oh, dude, some of the artwork in this book is great too. I mean, just look at some of this stuff. Like, and it's just full of pictures of all these kinds of things. But what's nice about this book is there's like a buttload of footnotes. And if you're reading a book like this, you want to get like the best translation that has like all the footnotes. It translates, you know, all the Latin and everything, and it explains like what's going on. I for one particularly need that stuff. I think this one has it too. Yeah, this particular version of On the Genealogy of Morality has it too. So a lot of these thinkers, man, they speak like multiple languages. It's hard to understand. Favorite audiobook if you listen to them. The only one I was trying to listen to was Master and His Emissary, because it's a very, very tough book to get through. I did read, I want to say a decent amount, but I'd be lying if I said that. And then I got the audiobook. But man, it's just, it's the kind of book where like you read one paragraph and you immediately got to go. Like for me, I feel like I have to read every paragraph twice. So it just takes so much time. But I would start with Julian Jaynes' The Origin of Consciousness, because that was kind of an older science. And then The Master and His Emissary comes with like the newest modern science that we have about the brain. It's actually really freaking cool. Anyways, man, yeah, I think I kind of inundated you guys with books. I've always thought about doing reading streams, and I've done that. And part of the reason why I've done that, not on the YouTube channel because I didn't want to bog it down, I would do it on my Twitch. The reason I would do it is because it kind of forced me to read. So it's like, if I'm not going to read, or if I just need to sit down for an hour and read, like, okay, let me just stream myself doing it. Maybe there's some accountability. But it might be kind of boring to watch because it's just like me reading the book out loud. It could be kind of monotone. I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'll try it again if we can all agree on a book or something that's good. Or maybe it's better if I read it and then just talk about it after. But I don't know. I'd have to figure out how to make that sort of entertaining. I loved your research streams. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Oh, you've been watching me for a little bit. I didn't realize that, man. I'm sorry. I thought you were new, but I actually appreciate that. Big shout out to you, man. But yeah, man, I used to love this stuff, bro. I was deep into it. I really was deep into it. And then it's just like, I don't know, man. I guess I just started working there, and then I lost it for a bit, and I feel like it's been coming back though, man. Like there's just like a feeling of like this dedication I'd have to just slogging through some of these things, and like just some books, even if they weren't that good, just getting like little gems and nuggets of like just particular facts or interesting things. There's a book I'm reading now, and it's actually really freaking good. It's on my phone, but it's called The Development of the Family and Marriage in Europe. And it very specifically discusses the Catholic Church's influence on family relations. Basically, you know, from the inception, I guess you can say, of the religion all the way through the creation of the church, which is like in, I think, the mid 300s, right? Because prior to that, it's a sect, you know what I mean? And then once the Roman Empire officially adopts Christianity, now you can start having churches, and now it's the dominant religion. And this comes with a whole new set of problems, and specifically things like property and property management gets wound up in these kinds of things. But this is the book I've not been able to put down, and it's pretty long, but man, my original plan, I'm only reading this because I was studying the dowry so hard, and my original plan was to put something of that, but I feel like my editing is just not there to be able to get like a good, hands down, well-researched video. But that is like my goal, is to be able to get some of this stuff out there for you guys. Love the work. Memorize, and I'll sub for exclusive content. Man, I would love to do that someday, but I just feel like the channel's so small that if I do any content that I feel like is good, I'm just going to put it out here for you guys anyways. But I just appreciate your guys' participation. I mean, that's what makes it fun for me. Like, streaming is fun, and doing YouTube's fun, and I'm trying to get better at it to at least put more quality stuff. Trevor says, gonna watch back the stream afterwards. Did you just react to its complicated content for 2 hours before reacting to Conscious Men vid? I would say about the first hour or so. The first hour was the free love video from It's Complicated. And the second, I had reacted to a lot of the It's Conscious video, or Conscious Man, It's Conscious. To the Conscious video right before you got in. So I just finished it when you got in. So, but yeah, I'll let you guys go, man. I know I've been talking for a while. I appreciate everyone that's been in here. And I will definitely see you guys next Saturday at 7 p.m. Oh, crap. I'm getting my 2-back wisdom teeth taken out on Tuesday. I forgot to tell you guys that. So this is the one that's going to suck. Like, they're halfway out, and they're going to have to get in there and do what they got to do. And I'm really hoping that by Saturday of next week, I'll be able to talk normally again. I should be able to. God willing, everything goes well. But that's what Tuesday at 11 a.m. is going to look like for me. So, but I do plan to be here. If I can't talk this Saturday at 7 p.m., then the hell with it. I'll just be here silently building a model kit. Or you know what we'll do? We'll open it up, and we're going to unbox this original Nika Universal Monster Series mummy kit. And you know what? We'll just have a short stream that way. So how about we do that? But anyways, guys, I appreciate everyone that watched. I am going to cut the stream now and, maybe get a late bite to eat. And, man, I will see you guys on the next one. I appreciate everyone that came in. I appreciate all the super chats from everyone that donated. Walter White, Caesar Quintanus, Trevor. Hope I'm not missing anybody. That means a lot, and I will respect the donations and try to spend it on something worthwhile instead of, Shah buying like another drone or something. Klaus, take it easy. Thank you, man. See you, Dan. See you, Mr. Pitt. Any Gundam model kits? Man, I don't have any Gundam ones, but I remember Gundam when I was a kid, and I'm not opposed to buying a Gundam model kit and making it on stream. I actually have a third DSLR camera, and I have a 100mm macro lens that would be perfect for model building, because we'd be able to get a nice close-up macro focused image of it. So I might be able to do that for you guys, man.